All muted. Yo, how's it going? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, guys. Right, here's the deal. Okay, I've got as much time as I've got now, up until I need to go and sort these deliveries out because I'm having my white goods delivered today. So I'm having my white goods delivered, and I'm having a bunch of shit for the studio delivered. My camera only sucks because of the lighting. I need to sort that out. Okay. Wow, nice view, actual brick wall. Okay, dude, whatever, man. Can I see the view from your fucking window if it's that fucking good, is it? Hey? What? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this bullshit. Okay, let's just see what the deal is. So I've got a DPD package due at 1:15. Oh, have I got the wrong title? Oh, for fuck's sake, dude. Fuck's sake, bro. I fucking hate this shit sometimes. I need to just go back to streaming on solo. I've still got this fucking restream account set up. Fuck's sake. Okay. What else was I gonna fucking... Oh, I can't fucking remember, dude. Whatever. Okay, there we go. That'll do. Sorry, right. Okay. So, fucking hell, dude. We got deliveries today. I've got to take a break to sort all that out. But then I'll be able to stream later. And the other stuff as well is I've got more work happening on the 20th or 21st. Then after that, I've got a full renovation, post-renovation clean booked. And then I'll be really set. I'll be really set and I'll be able to just crack on. So there's a little bit more disruption, but I'm going to do my best now I'm set up in here to kind of stream around whatever disruption there is. So for example, I'll take a few hours off in the middle of the day, but then I'll stream more later. Yes, Reckless Ben has put his video live. It was unlisted, but it's live, so we'll do that today. We'll do the Reckless Ben stuff. There might be time for something else as well. We'll see. Back to normal streams next week, guys. Yes. Yes, dude. We are largely back to normal streams, yes. Enjoying your new gaff, missed a few weeks of streams. Yeah, the new house, honestly, now it's coming together. You kind of walk around it and you're like, wow, it's actually a house. It's not a building site anymore. It's actually a house now. And you guys are going to like this, right? So the garden is overgrown and stuff like that, right? I know what you're probably thinking. Just go around with a strimmer and sort it all out. Just go around with a strimmer. No. Pay a man to do it for you. That's what I'm going to be doing. You think I'm going to be out there sweating, strimming grass? No, thank you. I'm gonna get someone to do it for me and give them some cash. Much easier. Much better proposition. Much better proposition. Easy peasy. But to be honest with you, it's one of those where I will have to maintain it. I can't just pay someone to do it all the time. Dude, I need to keep these hands soft. These hands are for typing and typing alone. Yesterday, Chud complained about being in debt and now wants to pay for simple gardening. Being in debt isn't a problem. It's not actually a problem. I was only fucking around. I was trying to DSP max, okay? But being in debt isn't a problem as long as you've got a plan to pay it off. The issue is if you use debt to cover, you know, gaps in your finances. That's when it's a problem. But we'll see. I'm sure if things go badly, you can be you could be expecting a fucking, what is it? A Innuendo Studio style GoFundMe down the line. Oh, guys, it turns out I was wrong. I'm in loads of debt that I can't pay off. Could you please help? Oh my god, dude. But I have got some wins. So you see this, right? Okay. You see this chair? It's fucked. This is fucked, right? Well, what was my first instinct? My first instinct was, oh, I'll just buy some more. I'll just buy some more then. But then I looked it up, and everything was like, well, Secret Labs are insane. If you say to them, there's a problem, they'll just fucking replace it. How do you do that? It's a common problem with these things, this PU leather shit. And also, I obviously use it like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week plus. So, but I messaged, honestly, it was insane. I messaged Secret Labs about it. And they were like, yep, we'll send out a replacement straight away. No questions asked. I was like, fucking hell. Yo, thank you for the sub. Thank you, thank you. Well, yeah, you wonder what I eat. Well, that's the answer, isn't it? That's what I do. I've got that thing that blacks have where they eat non-food items. Pica. I've got pica. I've been covering black so much. I've developed pica just from watching their body cams. But yes, guys. So things are coming together. You know, disruption has been minimized now. We're back in a kind of good routine. And I just need to, you know, get a few more things locked down, and we'll be in an even better position for me to focus on streaming. Because I do, for the next while now, want to just get back into my normal routine, which is going to be good. Hopefully, we will see. We will see, ladies and gentlemen. We will see. But I'm going to take this opportunity this morning, as I'm only doing a little early stream, like the old days, is to cover a bit of British politics, of course, which I know you all really love. I know you love a bit of British politics. You bloody love it, don't you? But there is a lot to talk about at the moment that's interesting. For me, at least. You know, we've got some Gary Stevenson stuff, some Nigel Farage stuff. So we'll get into that. I will watch the Rupert Lowe conversation at some point this week. But my hope is that as things are coming together, I will have more flexibility to go live like much earlier than I am at the moment, at like 9 AM UK time. And then because it's like UK hours, I can just cover like the Rupert Lowe combo before I even get into the, you know, the normal content. So that's going to be good. But yes, guys, I've actually been, I'm such a fucking tax nerd, right? I do have to check with people. I asked a friend of mine, and I was like, am I becoming like an obnoxious, you know, am I literally becoming the meme, the J-Reg video meme? I'm now a libertarian. But no, I think, you know, I do still have lefty views on this stuff. You know, I do have issues with, you know, massive wealth and shit like that. But I just hate the solutions that the left propose. And do you know what the other problem is as well? The issue with a lot of these taxes is that they get implemented and it's like, don't worry, it's just for the wealthy. It's just for the wealthy. The wealthy are the only people that are going to have to pay it, so you don't have to worry about it. And then over time, the tax just kind of ekes and ekes and ekes. And before you know it, middle class people end up paying, you know, these fucking taxes. So sometimes there's these things that are put in place which are designed to target the wealthy. I need to look into this more. This was literally a little comment that I saw. And I don't know how this is true. But apparently income tax originally was a tax designed for people that were earning a shitload of money. I don't know how true this is. I literally saw one comment about it. So I don't know 100%. But is it true that income tax used to be something, you know, used to be something that was only targeting wealthy people? And then eventually it's just kind of eked and eked and eked, and now basically everyone pays it unless you're a total fucking wretch. Tax cuts from Trump, Amazon paid nothing last year. I mean, look, I don't know about that, but I mean, America is a financial powerhouse, isn't it? Isn't America like absolutely fucking raping on various economic measures? Chud, it's time you realise that you're the wealthy, you're a kulak. The left will come for you in due time. When you think about it, streamers like me are basically the kulaks of the modern era. That is very true. Because think about it, right? Some lefty comes along, right, replaces me, turns my stream into some state broadcast, tries to redistribute whatever wealth I've managed to accumulate, and then it all fucks up because no one wants to watch a fucking propaganda broadcast. They want to watch me moaning about immigrants. They basically make me take all the racism out, and that's the best part of it. A kulak was a wealthy peasant. So in Russia, they were peasants that had accumulated a modest level of wealth by farming the land. And part of the Soviet regime was requisitioning the land from the kulaks and putting it in the hands of the people. But guess what happened? The people didn't know how to farm. The kulaks actually knew how to farm. So the people took over, the farms became inefficient, and it contributed to issues with food supply. So you had less efficient farming methods alongside central economic planning, and it contributed to a very unfortunate starvation issues, which is one of the downsides of what Lenin was doing. But maybe people were being a bit greedy. Maybe people were being a bit too greedy. Maybe they just were eating a bit too much grain for what is correct. I actually learnt about the USSR as part of my secondary school education, and I once wrote an essay saying that Stalin was based actually back in the day. The question was Stalin a man or a monster? And I actually talked about the 5-year plan, World War II, mass industrialization, So, yeah, there we go. I was a tanky. Leftists are evil. Glad you're on the right side now. Are they? Are they really? Are they actually, though? Okay. Also, there's this. Remember this meme? Do you remember the Sigma memes with a certain music? Remember this? It's so good, man. Classic. Well, I mean, the thing is, with Trotsky, because Trotsky had this concept of a global revolution, and he supported the idea of invoking revolution in certain countries in order to bring about global communism. And the thing is, it sounds crazy, but he was correct. And the reality is that communism being only spread across the USSR, really, and some African states, and Cuba and whatnot, that's the thing that fucked it, really, because there was all these little pockets of communism all around the world that were reliant on support from the centralized USSR. And they kind of withered out and died on the wire. Whereas America was, able to kind of encapsulate the rest of the world and push capitalism or whatever, you know? Gringle-ma-dingle, gringle-ma-dingle. But yes, there we go, guys. But it can still work. It can still work. During his lifetime, the Soviet autocrat Joseph Stalin received many unusual letters. The practice of writing directly to their leader had its roots in Tsarism, and it continued after the Russian Revolution. In 1931, for instance, an anonymous Egyptian wrote to Stalin asking if the Soviet Union had any interest in the development of its design for death rays. Bro, what? Nonetheless, the letter he received in the spring of 1934 must have stood out as questioning of the stance of homosexuality in the Soviet Union. Wasting no time, the author opened with a bombastic question. Can a homosexual be considered someone worthy of membership in the Communist Party? The writer of the letter, Harry White, was protesting a decree passed just a month earlier which prescribed criminal liability for homosexual acts. Oh, what? What is this? Is this some sort of, like, oh, no, actually, Stalin loved gays? Is that what it is? Oh, my God. Patriots. Absolute patriots, honestly. Absolute fucking patriots. Okay, right, guys. Let's get into some news. Let's get into some news, guys. But before we do, I've been meaning to watch this for a little while, and I'm going to watch it now because I've been this has been on the back burner in my thing for ages. So let's have a little look and see. We love this guy. Here's the thing. I think that American news is actually ridiculous because you don't have rules on due impartiality. So you end up with total huckster shill news channels that just push one narrative.
So, what in the heck happened to the news media? How did we go from Walter Cronkite to the crazy partisan press we have today? Every time there's a new poll about the American media, it hits an all-time low. Today, about 3 out of 4 Americans say they distrust the mass media completely. But how does this stand up in history? Was the press really once a bastion of impartiality? Or is
Stalin did read White's letter, or at least a summary of it prepared by his assistants. Laconically, Stalin commented, an idiot and a degenerate. The letter was sent to his personal archive and White's concerns remained unaddressed. Well, listen, how are you going to farm grain if you're busy sucking each other's cocks?
Or is the story more complicated? Actually, you know it's more complicated. That's why you're here. Look, I spent years working in the industry. I was in the room during some of those pivotal moments that this video covers, but I'm not sure that I fully understood how we got here until I made this effort here to dig in deep. I'm Ken LaCourte, and that's today's elephant in the room. I've done my best to explain how our press got to this point. Now, I was involved in this one, so I'll be upfront about that, and you can decide later whether I've done a fair job. Because what we'll see is a complex story of economics, incentives, and human beings doing what they always do. We'll start with the myth of objectivity and why the founding fathers really had nothing to do with that. Then, news as a commodity, and how capitalism accidentally invented journalistic neutrality. Then, the monopoly era, which ironically had some of the more objective journalism that we've seen. After that, the monopoly breaks, and how AM radio, of all things, started blowing it up first, followed by a look at where the internet era has left us. All right, so the myth of...
Honestly, the internet era is what has destroyed news. So you've got this kind of like, you know, social media. You don't know this guy elephant's in the room. He's not a communist. He's like a sort of, you know, he just looks at topics and gives a fair shake on them. And he's actually given some very good anti-immigrant takes recently, to be honest. But, yeah, I think that the social media age has really fucked the news up. And the news, in order to combat the rapidity of social media, has kind of, you know, done things that I think has destroyed some of their credibility as they pursued and chased stories. So, I don't know, man. It's just in a bad way. The news is in a bad way. Yes, his sister was killed by blacks, so he became a racist.
Myth of objectivity tells us that the American press started pure and got corrupted somewhere along the way. But that's really not true. At the beginning of American history, the press wasn't something that reported the news. They weaponized it for politics. And the men who wrote the First Amendment, they were the ones loading the muskets. Alexander Hamilton bankrolled the Gazette of the United States. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison founded the National Gazette and put its editor on the State Department payroll, a direct subsidy. And it wasn't just the famous names. Government contracts and appointments went to friendly papers as a matter of course. By the 1790s, virtually every significant political figure had a newspaper in his corner. It was a nationwide infrastructure of patronage press. And they didn't report news in any modern sense. They ran opinion, political warfare, and personal attacks.
Wait a second, are we talking about back then or now?
One paper called Adams, a hideous hermaphroditical character, which has neither the force and firmness of a man, nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman.
What?
Another called Jefferson, a mean-spirited, low-lived fellow, the son of a half-bred Indian squaw, sired by a Virginia mulatto father.
What? Bring back that. Bring back that news. That news sounds based. Bring back that, please.
I mean, if you think that sounds like Twitter, I agree. Nobody considered any of this a scandal. It was just journalism of the day. And journalism, that was politics by any other means. Benjamin Franklin's own grandson ran the Aurora out of Philadelphia, and he saved his sharpest criticism for Washington himself. When Washington was stepping down in 1796, he wrote that if ever a nation was debauched by a man, the American nation has been debauched by Washington. And they called the first president's farewell address the loathings of a sick mind. Washington complained in private letters that he was being assailed so much that he stopped reading newspapers entirely in his final years in office.
Bro, this is like streamers of the modern era. They don't even look at the comments because they're so mean. Oh my God. Washington had the mentality of a modern era streamer. Snarked to death. Yes, exactly.
The most admired man in America was so ground down by the press that he just quit paying attention. And beyond friendly government contracts, the government subsidized all of it. The Post Office Act of 1792 allowed newspapers to be mailed with drastically reduced postage rates. The government essentially financed the partisan press from the very beginning. Those cheap media rates, they still exist today. And presidents fought back with sharp elbows and sometimes strong laws. The Alien and Sedition Act of 1798, President Adams made it a criminal offense to publish false, scandalous, or malicious writings against the government. In practice, prosecutors use it almost exclusively against editors who criticized Adams. Matthew Lyon, a Vermont...
Bro, this is what's so funny about all these fucking constitutionalist people. They're like, oh, the Constitution... They were doing shit like this all the time. Or was this before the Constitution? Was this before the Constitution? What was the year? Was this like it was forming and then realising it was wrong? But in any case, regardless, the fucking founding fathers clearly didn't give a fuck about free speech.
Congressman and newspaper publisher, he got 4 months in prison for writing that Adams had an unbounded thirst for ridiculous pomp. He actually ran for re-election from his jail cell and won. The law conspicuously didn't prohibit attacks on the vice president, which happened to be Jefferson at the time. That wasn't an accident. They wrote the law to still allow attacks on Jefferson. I mean, I know it's easy to think that we live in the wildest times ever, but it was pretty wild back then. The American press was a weapon from day one. The people who built it knew that, they used it that way, and they wrote the First Amendment anyway. And what we'll learn is that things didn't really change down the road because of ethical considerations. It was really about business. So the founding era press had one type
when
of
customer. When does he get to the Jewish media? Soon.
Politicians and political insiders. What changed in the early 1800s was that news as a commodity found a mass market for the first time. Before the 1830s, newspapers cost about an hour's wage for a laborer. That's a lot of money. They sold mainly by subscriptions to the educated class. Then, in 1833, a printer named Benjamin Day launched the New York Sun and sold it on street corners for 1 penny. Within 2 years, it had the largest daily circulation of any paper in the world. He invented an entirely new business model where success depended on volume and advertising, not wealthy subscribers and political patrons. I mean, to get a sense of how fast this moved, in 1790, there were about 90 newspapers in the entire United States. 40 years later, there were more than 1,200. It was the fastest expansion of a media in history up to that point in time, built entirely on cheap newspaper, street corner sales, and child labor. Now, a little ironic that the newspaper industry...
Bring it back! Bring it back! But I've got an idea. Bring it back, but only for non-white children. Thoughts? Thoughts on my little policy?
Industry was built on the newsboy system. So those pen papers,
Right.
they relied on boys as young as 7 or 8 years old, buying papers wholesale and reselling them retail, keeping the difference.
Those kids were getting absolutely molested. That's no doubt about it, man. Oh yeah, the paper round. Oh, dude, I forgot about the paper round. When I was a kid, I got I spoke to a shop about doing a paper round. But I decided against it because it seemed like a lot of effort, to be honest with you. It seemed like a lot of fucking effort, so I didn't bother.
The difference. When cities later started regulating child labor, it actually destabilized the entire street distribution model. When William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer arrived in New York in the late 1800s, they battled to own that mass market.
Pulitzer
And in that
Prize.
war, headlines,
Eh?
not the stories themselves, became the main product. I always thought that the term yellow journalism came from the paper's tinge, but it actually stemmed from the Barons' fight over a popular comic strip called The Yellow Kid. The name stuck as shorthand for an entire era of press culture built on provocation, sensation, and sometimes outright lies. Actually, the phrase fake news became popularized about that same time. So Hearst also understood that the famous people sell papers in a way that performers sell tickets. So he recruited celebrity writers like Jack London. That instinct that the personality matters as much as the product, that never went away. It just moved to other outlets like television and the internet. So here's one part of the story that really surprised me. The initial concept of objective journalism, a reporter giving balanced facts without opinion, that wasn't invented by editors having some sort of ethical awakening. It was an engineered solution to a distribution problem. When the Associated Press started sending out stories by telegraph in the 1840s, they sold them to papers of every political persuasion. Only by stripping out the opinion could they write a story that all of their clients would run. So objectivity as a journalistic norm, it was born from the need to sell the same product to people who hated each other. Then the advertisers arrived, and they finished the job started by the wires and the changing ways that newspapers were delivered. As home delivery became widespread in the early 1900s, the incentive structure flipped.
Okay, I gotta be honest with you, dude. I thought this was gonna be about the Jews and media. Why are we getting a full fucking history, bro? Dude? I thought this was gonna be, yeah, the media sucks, it's run by Jews. Or I thought it was gonna be, oh, the media, has got, oh my god, dude. I'll give it time. But this is a bit too historical for my tastes. I've got to be honest with you, okay? It's a bit too historical for my tastes. But we'll continue with it, and we'll crack on. But I was hoping it would be a bit more ballsy than this.
A street corner
where's the Star of David? Where's the Star of David? Where?
paper thrived by hawking the day's sensational story. But a paper landing on your doorstep was different. You had a different relationship with that. They'd already made the sale with your subscription. And advertisers, they wanted to reach people not in a paper that enraged half of its potential readership with partisan content. They didn't want to leave money on the table. So there were starting to become incentives for neutral content. It made newspapers more money.
Dude, what is the... Dude, RTZ Menace. What are you doing exactly in chat here? Emirasifilis whines. I guess that's aimed at me. I don't even remember what I was whining about. Gok, is Chud a commie now? Whines again. Chud says being news right now. Chud's wife, weak-willed. Chud has Tourette's. When Chud notices me. Complains about video Chud is watching. Makes 60-year-old pedos work the factories. Sadly, you're raped. Complains about the video. He's kind of cooking. No, you say that, okay. But it's actually some wretch that wants my attention. It's actually some pathetic little wretch. It's like, when will Chud notice me? I'm going to be annoying until Chud notices me. He hasn't won. He hasn't won. Stop saying he's won. He's not won. That's not true.
Which is exactly the moment that Adolph Oakes walked in. He bought the nearly bankrupt New York Times in 1896 at the height of the yellow journalism war. And he deliberately positioned it as an anti-sensationalist alternative. His slogan was, all the news that's fit to print, and it was a direct shot at Hearst and Pulitzer. And it's still on the front page today. Now, whether they still adhere to that slogan is a whole other discussion. But however you look at history,
the New York Times. The New York Times is good, no? The New York Times is actually a good paper. Isn't it the paper of record for the United States? I.e., the one that is said to be the kind of best newspaper that you can see. New York Times. Very funny. Okay. The failing New York Times. It's woke. No, I just think that most of the time when I see a New York Times article, it's normally pretty robust, no?
Objectivity wasn't a moral evolution. It was always around smart business. Now, this is a perfect place to talk about today's sponsor, one that I truly dig. And I genuinely mean it when I say that they're unusually relevant to this story.
Ground News.
Because it's ground news.
Yes!
They exist as a helpful tool because in so many ways, the media is broken. Ground News was built because you can't just watch the news anymore and trust what you're getting. Your perception is being actively shaped. Some stories get amplified while other stories get buried. Framing gets twisted and the entire narrative gets constructed by which half of the country decides to cover something and which half ignores it. Now, Ground News pulls and compares news from over 50,000 outlets.
Should I try and get a sponsorship with Ground News? Maybe I should message them and see what the deal is. That would be, I mean, if there's something they can implement on a fairly straightforward basis, that would be good. It would fit, wouldn't it, when I did my little news segments?
And it shows you everything.
Yes, Chud, show them some of your coverage. Yes, I would be on the right side of their political aisle, sure. But, I mean, who cares?
Who's covering what? How they're spinning it? Who's gone conspicuously silent? Bias ratings, headline comparisons, reliability scores, funding, and ownership.
It's biased towards the left nowadays. The problem with the media, and there are exceptions to this, like Fox News, right? But the problem with the media is journalism is rooted in academia, and academia is progressive by its nature. And that's why Charlie Kirk and his ilk and all the other righties wanted to get into academia so they could push right-wing messaging. So you end up with a kind of default positioning of progressive ideas that flourish through the media. One example of this is the capitalization of B for black, because it's considered a more unique racial identity than being white is. That is something that was accepted as part of like journalistic style guides. Okay. Why? Why is that just accepted? Well, it's because of the progressive bias that's innate of journalism's links to academia. Because it's stupid, really. Why is that so? Well, because this thing says so. Why? Because journalists have agreed that that's the best way to do it. And where do the journalists come from? Some fucking progressive woke university, you know? Progressive by its nature. Now it's been taken... No, what I mean is academia, in the modern era particularly, is very progressive, right? And that's kind of, by its nature, then influenced journalism, because to be a journalist, you need to go to a university or something, right?
Transparency. No more being played. So check it out at ground.news/elephants.
That's going to be me soon.
The feature I keep coming back to time and time again, it's Blind Spot. Because it exposes stories getting wall-to-wall coverage on one side while being completely ignored on the other.
Oh, dude, look at these. Number of migrants intercepted by the Coast Guard has doubled since Oh, you're getting some UK problems. The bias only exists because traditionally right-wingers think arts are too fruity and gay. Unlucky. Unlucky, righties. Now you have to read all the woke slop in your papers. You're raped.
That's important. This story about the U.S. threatening to scrap EU visa waivers over data sharing demands, it was covered completely on the left. While this one, on how school choice reportedly caused graduation rates and college acceptance to skyrocket in Louisiana.
I mean, for want of a better word, to simplify it, I mean woke. Wokeoid shit. Yes, that's what I mean, rather than like, you know, some other progressive thing.
High crime areas, it was only covered on the right. This is what we're talking about today, and it's exactly why this tool exists. I'm on the Vantage plan, and I check it daily. With my link, you can get 40% off at ground.news/elephants or scan the QR code. It keeps this channel going, and I genuinely appreciate it. For most of American history, the press was loud, and it was a crowded field of outlets, and they were fighting for survival. Then something strange happened. It got quiet. News became a monopoly. And the monopoly era is where objectivity actually took root. At the beginning of the 1900s, many American cities had 4 or 5 competing daily newspapers. By 1970, most had only one.
Don't worry, guys, we're getting there. We're getting to the Jews. We're getting to the Jewish question.
Or maybe
relax.
2. And even when 2 papers technically competed, they were often sharing a printing press and splitting the ad revenue. Competitors in name only, perhaps. But the Watergate scandal helped change things, as journalism suddenly became glamorous. Because before that, reporting was largely a blue-collar profession. It attracted people from all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of politics, and the end result, that tended to reflect that ideological diversity. After
Watergate was fake? Okay, that sounds like some utter right-wing slop opinion. Watergate wasn't fake, was it? Watergate was a real controversy. What's his face? Nixon. Nixon fucking resigned over it, didn't he?
Woodward and Bernstein and the Washington Post had helped...
Oh, wait, hang on a sec.
...reflect that ideological diversity. After Woodward and Bernstein and the Washington Post had helped...
I won.
Hey, thank you for the kicks. You did win, I agree. Thank you for the kicks. Thank you, thank you. Sorry. Bernstein? I need to look at this again. There's clearly some sort of Jewish operation has occurred here.
Helped take down a president, journalism schools filled up with young people who wanted to save the world. Between 1960 and 1975, the number of journalism majors at U.S. colleges and universities exploded from roughly 11,000 to more than 64,000. And observers at that time, they explicitly credited Watergate for making journalism look heroic and idealistic. And the profession didn't just grow, it also narrowed, becoming increasingly upper middle class, increasingly educated at elite.
Right, I think he's now touching on the things that I think about this. In that the journalists became a bunch of pampered wokeoids, and that's why you see a bunch of the shit that you do now, to put it simply.
Institutions and increasingly liberal. And that shift happened at exactly the moment that the monopolies made it almost impossible to notice those changes. And those monopolies were even stronger for television news. Nationally, there were only 3 news network broadcasts, and they were all in the same part of New York. You could literally walk, you still can, to each of the ABC, CBS, and NBC headquarters in under 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly. Journalism equals Judeo-Bolshevik propaganda. Exactly. Yes, you've got it.
For the first time in American history, a single version of the day's events reached the entire country simultaneously. Every night, tens of millions of Americans sat down
and guess what? All those news studios, guess what? Right in the center of all of them? That's right, a synagogue. You got it.
Watched basically the same news stories. They were told the same way by anchors who looked and sounded like they were the same guy. Walter Cronkite is worth pausing on here because he's become shorthand for a lost golden age of journalism. I'll push back on that a little. Cronkite's authority came from a structural monopoly, not necessarily a personal virtue that was so different. A man delivering the news to 20 million households every night, he had no audience to chase, no market pressure pulling him towards his side, and he had rivals that were pretty much saying the same thing he was. I also want to mention the 1949 Fairness Doctrine because it's worth understanding and it's also somewhat misunderstood. It was a federal regulation that required broadcast licensees to present controversial issues in a balanced way.
Dude, that's what we've got over here. And that's good, although imperfect, and it doesn't all, you know. That's good though, isn't it? I think that's a good thing. Bring that back if it's not in place anymore.
It emerged partly from a fear out of what state-controlled media did in fascist Europe in the 1930s. And it also had a lot to do with technology. So the logic for it was straightforward. Broadcast frequencies, there was only a limited number of them, so they were considered to be a scarce public resource, not private property. And the government had a legitimate interest in how they got used. It applied only to radio and television, not newspapers. In reality, it produced blandness more than balance. Station owners found it easier just to avoid controversial topics entirely than to risk problems. It made news shows more cautious, but not necessarily more ideologically nuanced. But it did serve as a firewall against openly partisan television for nearly 4 decades, and there were essentially no political opinion talk shows like we...
Dude. Chud, the anti-Semitism... Dude, the anti-Semitism is getting old. You could only have gotten that idea from Benjamin Netanyahu. What's that meme with that CIA guy? It was good, but it wasn't perfect, so who needs it? Today it's much better because journalism is accountable only to the markets. We're told what we want to hear. I mean, you know, when I look at American news, I don't watch any American news. I only watch British news because British news is actually better, way better. And a lot of Americans will comment on this too, that British news is just of a much higher standard and much higher quality than American news. And it is just so much political slop talk show nonsense. And they barely hide it. They barely fucking hide it. I remember when Trump got prosecuted, something happened with Trump, and they were literally, and fucking libtards were getting chat going, no, this is correct. No, they were literally sat there going, and now the next count, he's guilty. And the next count, oh, he's guilty again. It was like utterly fucking obscene partisan nonsense. And it's just so off-putting. It's so fucking off-putting, bro. You know, have a bit of decorum about it, right? Even if, you know, you should not be able to tell what the political opinion of the journalist is that you're watching, right? If he's doing like an interview or something like that. I think of someone like Andrew Neil. Andrew Neil is a conservative, okay? An absolute 100% conservative guy. When he's conducting interviews, you would not be able to tell that if you watched enough of his interviews because, you know, he was talking to Ben Shapiro is the classic example of this. Where Ben Shapiro came on, Andrew Neil was questioning him, and Ben Shapiro was like, you're a leftist. And Andrew Neil was like, that's stupid. Because he was questioning him on his abortion policy. Because that's what a journalist is supposed to do. They're supposed to put questions to someone that's oppositional to their perspective. Not like agree or disagree or, you know what I mean? It's so fucking obnoxious, man. And that's the kind of standard that we tend to look at over here. And you see it with Channel 4 News. Channel 4 News as well. Christian Guru Murphy will generally put an oppositional position to someone rather than just agree or disagree with them or something like that, you know?
We think of them today. When the law was killed by the Reagan administration, talk radio was really the main thing that changed. So this is the era that I grew up in. 3 national news shows with nearly identical content. A few local television channels. 1 newspaper in Los Angeles where I lived. Now, there was a bias in the press. Mostly to the left. Now, I could get into studies of political affiliations of reporters going back to the 70s, but by today's standards, it wasn't the same game. I mean, it leaned left in what stories were covered and the angles they pursued, but the journalists of that era, they would barely recognize their outlets today. But conservatives, they did believe that the national press wasn't giving it to them straight, and that created opportunities in both cable news and talk radio. That's when the monopoly breaks. The first hit against these monopolies really didn't come from ideology, but once again, from a business.
So that's it. That is actually interesting. So you wonder where Fox News came from. And I remember all of the, you know, Fox News Fair and Balanced, the memes about it back in the 2000s and stuff like that. But it does seem like it's a product of the right not feeling catered to by the news that existed and therefore just going and setting up their own thing.
This time, it was led by a wild-sounding entrepreneur named Ted Turner. He didn't see a political opening, but room for a 24-hour channel in the exploding cable space. He launched CNN in 1980 and was initially mocked by all the news guys. They called it the Chicken Noodle Network. But within a decade, it changed every assumption in the industry. And it kicked off the entire...
Bro, I never even thought of this, but yeah, 24-hour news, right? And that changed the game. I remember 24-hour news channels being a thing, and you could watch whatever 24-hour news thing. But then the internet kind of broke that and raped that. And then 24-hour news wasn't immediate enough to keep up pace, because the moment something happens, it gets posted about on social media now. And the news has desperately tried to pursue that mechanism, but they just can't, because they need to have some standards in place to assess and check in a way that some racist nutter on Twitter doesn't. And they can just post a video and go and say a bunch of racist shit, and that then becomes the news.
The entire cable news world. Now, back to the repeal of the Fairness Doctrine. That really didn't affect cable news because there's no airwaves involved there, so there's no FCC oversight. But it dramatically affected AM radio. By the mid-'80s, FM radio, with better sound quality, it had taken away much of the music listening audience from AM, which had become almost abandoned real estate. Rush Limbaugh would change that all around. He launched a relatively little fanfare in 1988, and within a few years had 20 million radio listeners. He didn't really create a conservative audience. He discovered one that was already there and who'd felt alienated by the mainstream media. They'd been absorbing a single version of events for decades with no alternative, and suddenly they had somewhere to go. And soon, there'd be more news alternatives for conservatives and liberals alike as they found compatible news channels on the cable news systems. CNN had 3 channels. NBC had a business channel and then launched MSNBC in 1996. 3 months later, Rupert Murdoch and Roger Ailes launched the Fox News channel.
Hey!
And the cable news wars began in earnest. So Roger Ailes had actually given me my first job out of college, and I came into Fox News about 2 years after it launched.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
I need to do a whole video on this someday.
Sadly,
because
you're right.
It's pretty interesting.
Thank you for the gifted. Thank you.
I ran the West Coast operations of Fox before later running FoxNews.com. And throughout my years there, I saw firsthand how Fox and other channels changed over time. I mean, Roger's goal was always to offer up a news channel for conservatives, and he initially created something that really wasn't all that ideologically driven as it is today. I mean, in the early 2000s, most of the daytime hours, they were straight news shows, without hosts offering up their opinions. Now, Fox certainly looked at different stories than its competitors did, but it could decently defend its fair and balanced motto, which it's since abandoned.
Dude, really? I think this guy's coping, man. I remember during like the fucking Iraq war and shit like that, they were like, whoa, let's destroy the fucking toll edge. We're going to blow the fuck out of the toll edge. Let's fucking go. It's like, dude, it was mental, bro. I remember like watching liberal videos mocking it and stuff. Like Charlie Brooker and stuff did content about it back in the day. Nah, come on, dude. That's cope, man. That's fucking cope.
The primetime evening shows, now they were all about
gonna destroy our Twin Towers, are you? We're gonna bomb you back to the Stone Age. We're gonna bomb your children to smithereens. Woo! Fair and balanced, fair and balanced.
But for years, the lineup was Bill O'Reilly, a populist conservative, the right-left of Hannity and Combs, and Greta Van Susteren, who was a true moderate. But audience and cable economics, they got a vote as well. The more opinionated and the more conservative shows on Fox, they started dominating the ratings. The daytime shows, they started getting more political and more successful as well. At Fox's competitors, the same thing was happening on the left. MSNBC went hardcore left and their numbers rose dramatically.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well, though. I think that one of the aspects that was missed out of the conversation back then, there was this focus on Fox as this super biased partisan network, but so little criticism was actually focused on like these moderate channels that just became more and more libtarded as time went on. And that was kind of missed out of the conversation and wasn't really held to account. And, I mean, I think back to specific examples. I know there's an undercurrent of liberal bias on like the likes of CNN. But do you remember stuff like the Covington Kid? Like the Covington Kid, Carl Rittenhouse, so much bad reporting as a product of partisan bias, rather than actually just fairly assessing and talking about a situation that had happened.
CNN had leaned left, but was really the last one to go kind of all in on pushing their politics. All of this happened gradually over a decade or two. And I tell you, the audience had a big part of this. Because when a show, let's say Hannity and Combs, they dropped the Combs and it was just Hannity. His numbers went up. It brought in more money. All of a sudden, you're seeing certain shows are doing better. You emulate that across your channel because you want to be successful. That happened everywhere. Except newspapers for a while, because they watched it all from a distance with something close to contempt. They looked at cable news and talk radio. They saw a carnival, loud, crass, and beneath them. They assumed that their neutral, authoritative newspaper was the durable product and the partisan stuff was a sideshow.
I remember Don Lemon, whatever he's called, telling his audience that Kyle shot people because they're different political opinions than him. It was crazy. Really? I mean, the liberal press on Rittenhouse was absolutely... It's probably the most recent big failing of the liberal press was the way that they reported on that story. It was atrocious. You know? Remember that montage of them talking about across state lines, across state lines, across state lines? And like things like that, just the way they spoke about it. Like clearly they were not working from the premise of let's talk about what the news is and let the cards fall where they may. It was, we want Rittenhouse to be guilty of something, so therefore we will work backwards to justify that in whatever way we can. Oh, the dementia cover-up. The fucking dementia oh, dude, that was fucking insane. The mass sweeping for Biden's mental decline. Oh, dude, dreadful stuff.
Serious people would eventually tune out. They were wrong. And by the time they really understood what was actually going on, they were disrupted right out of jobs. Look, this is a good time to mention, if I screw up anywhere here, tell me about it in the comments and I'll address it in a pinned comment below. I've got source and research notes down there as well. All right, so the American press evolved time after time, but perhaps never as quickly as the era we're in right now, the internet era. When the internet arrived, the economics of the newspaper and magazine...
But Fox spreading stuff, that's what I believe. That's what I believe. I believe that the liberal press was wrong, but Fox was actually correct in what they were saying about the election. That's exactly what I think. Yes, correct.
Business, it collapsed within years. The prestigious New York Times nearly went bankrupt in 2009. It had to borrow $250 million from a Mexican billionaire at a 14% interest.
Oh, wow. And then all of a sudden the Times starts loving fucking Mexican immigrants. Wow, what a shocker. Whoa, I'm so surprised.
Afloat. It survived by pivoting aggressively to digital subscriptions. At the time, many people criticized that, but it paid off. Craigslist also played a real role here.
Dude, I get annoyed with the digital subscription shit on papers. But realistically, if you're honest, what other choice have they got? Either they absolutely bombard you with ads like the Daily Mail does, or they have to have some money coming in, or they can't afford to operate.
By putting free ads online, it essentially wiped out a $20 billion a year.
Yeah, they are. It's only £1 a day. It's only £1 a day. You're like, hang on, that's £30 a month just to read the news. Actually, I can go on Twitter and I can see what Anglo Pigeon has posted to get the truth about what's occurring in the world.
Revenue stream for the newspapers. Then things like display advertising went to Google, recruitment to LinkedIn, real estate to Zillow, car ads to auto traders. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of alternatives for consumers that are cheaper and better than what the newspapers were giving them. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to sell your used car before, you literally had to call up a newspaper, buy 20 words into that, put in your phone number, and have people call you on the telephone to talk about it. It's a different world now, and a better one for consumers. But those services are what paid the bills for recording.
Damn, that's true, actually. I'll tell you what, though. I've got to be honest with you, right? Facebook Marketplace is a fucking hassle, dude. Fuck that, bro. I do not have time in my fucking life. Okay? I do not have time in my life to talk to some peasant to get rid of a fucking free oven. It's so much fucking hassle, bro. I just want shot of it, right? And the thing is, I don't want to fucking, can I have £10 off if I'm, dude, it's so obnoxious, bro. It's so fucking obnoxious, dude. It's so annoying, dude. And often it's for, 50 quid. It's like 50 quid and they're bartering for a tenner off, bro. Oh my god, dude. Ugh. So annoying. No, Chud, you watch Black Mirror in your free time. Black Mirror. What's Black Mirror? Is that the porn version of Black Mirror? But the thing is, I've got, like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff I need to, well, I don't need to sell it, but it would be good to sell some of it. Like, I've got 2 old mobile phones that are literally just in a box somewhere that I could just sell and get like 100 quid or 150 quid or something, you know, which is fine. But it's just thinking about the hassle of selling it and having to talk to peasants, you know, and just like, oh my god, dude. Some scrote coming around. Some scrote coming around and yeah, giving over a handful of cash, probably covered in tobacco and shit. Oh god. Ugh, no thank you.
And photographers and editors. And when those bundles of products disappeared, so did many papers. Between 2005 and 2025, America lost more than 3,200 local newspapers. Now, the LA Times, for instance, they compete, and not that strongly, with
Black Mirror 1 and 2 were the peak. Have to say season 7 is the best. I think the initial ones were good. I'll tell you, I tell you what I watched yesterday. I don't know why the mood took me, but you know the episode Crocodile? I watched the episode Crocodile, and I was thinking, why do I like that episode so much?
1,000 alternatives from small outlets to X accounts to YouTube to so much more. And ironically, the economics that drove the penny press is right back with us. But the headlines aren't even selling a whole newspaper. Now they're selling one story at a time. I saw it firsthand at Fox. You write a nuanced story with a nuanced headline, and you have a hard time finding readers for it. You publish something bold and brash that you know your audience will want, that boosts your numbers. That boosts your money. That makes your boss happy. That makes you happy. It even makes your audience happy. Because it's easy, and perhaps not wrong, to say those editors should write more balanced stories, not this partisan rage bait. But the editors who stuck to their principles and refused to play that game, they don't work there anymore. They got replaced by people who understand that the news business is indeed a business. You can fight the algorithm, but it's hard to beat it. But before anyone gets too finger-pointy at the journalists or Silicon Valley programmers, remember that the algorithm is really shorthand for what the audience wants. That's all of us. If everybody clicks on partisan garbage, that's what we'll get more of. If everybody starts clicking on seriously good journalism, we'll get more of that. Look, that's what's made me so incredibly happy about the success of this channel.
I mean, that's just the problem, man. People don't want actual analysis. They just want people to reassert what they already believe. And there's a lot of people out there that love racism. It's why X is so fucking crazy at the moment.
No, it isn't because it just found an audience. Because it found an audience not with garbage, but with pretty smart, nuanced takes on things. And that made me thrilled. So look, overall, this isn't the end state of the media. It's part of an ever-evolving way of how humans communicate with one another. I mean, we're still in the midst of a massive transformation, and it has some truly horrible products. But it has a whole lot of great information available right now at our fingertips, worldwide, 24/7. Because despite the problems, the world is more literate and exposed to new ideas than probably any time in human history. So yes, trust in the amorphous media is at an all-time low, but I personally find more people online that I do trust than at any point in my life. Because one thing about this era, it's not being spoon-fed to you by the experts. You actually create your own media diet yourself, and you get to decide how much junk food you want to binge on and how much solid information you want to pull in. So that brings us to where we are. The media has been in better and worse shape throughout the years, and most of that has been spurred by business changes and audience appetites. What's genuinely new now, it's the scale of the speed, and the fact that these days, anyone can play the game.
Yes!
Whether that produces a healthier information ecosystem or a more chaotic one, that remains to be seen. We're living in the answer to that question right now. Hey, if you're interested in how history has changed the political playing field, you can't get a better example.
That was a bit too history focused for me, but that was quite interesting in the end. I can't find this scene, bro. Who has seen Crocodile? Okay. Let me see if I can find it. I really want to show you this. You might have did. Oh my god, dude. Where is it? I don't think you can watch it, can you? And I don't want to give I don't want to give a fucking a virus to my computer. But basically there's a scene at the end where basically this woman goes into this house because she's trying to cover up this crime that she's committed, right? And there's a black guy in the bath. There's a black guy having a bath, right? And this woman, white as the driven snow, comes up behind him and he's like, oh, and she just bashes him over the head. Right? Hits him over there with the hammer and he's like, and floats and goes into the water. And I was like, yes, yes, let's go. And then you think that's bad, right? Or good. Then her attention turns. Because part of the plot is they've got this device they can put on you and you can see someone's memories. Right? This isn't it, is it? Oh, dude, you found it! You legend! You legend, bro. You legend.
That's like Psycho. Oh my god.
Wait, sorry, she's supposed to be the bad guy. Okay, cool. That's too much, man. That's too much, bro. That's too much. Sorry, I thought this. I didn't know. I misunderstood what this episode's about, I think.
Oh god, I can't believe this shit. How are you gonna get rid of all these bodies? Like, where the fuck are you gonna put them? Like, this is nuts. Tell me the... There's like a fucking baby in there.
So don't forget, the plot point is they got this device they put on your head and they can access your memories. And so the story is her going through trying to cover up the crime by basically killing everyone that could get their memories accessed. And then...
I think it's a baby. Yeah, don't you feel like shit? Oh my god. Just to cover your own ass. Oh my god. There's no way that she can't get found out, you know what I mean?
Dude, if she was a liberal woman, she'd have no problem killing a baby. This, oh, by the way, I didn't... The woman that's the mother is an Indian. So you've got an Indian mother and some sort of already mulatto father creating this baby. So who fucking knows what's going on there? Also... Wow, I don't know if they get into it, you see. Well, let's just watch the play out.
You're not
of
gonna
this
like
part.
kill the child, are you?
Dude. Literal media literacy moment. The purpose of that scene is to demonstrate that that's exactly where this is going. Yes, dude. Yes, obviously. And don't worry, guys. All the white children are perfectly safe. All the white kids in the story, perfectly safe. No harm comes to them, so don't sweat it.
Babe, I mean, it's a little too late.
Bloodbath upstairs and this downstairs.
But I couldn't see. Poor fucker was born blind, apparently.
I have to say, I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking for.
So, that's supposed to be a sort of horrific detail, right? But yes, this kid is blind. The kid is blind, and then the woman obviously kills them without realising that. So the kid couldn't have even noticed anyway, That's the whole point of that moment, right? It is a good episode. I watched it last night, and I was like, fucking hell, I forgot how good this episode is.
Does a good job.
He didn't see it coming. He didn't see it coming. Oh.
Sadly, you're raped.
Oh my god, that's so bad. Yo, thank you for the kicks. Thank you.
Come on, let's get out of here. Let the recall team do their job.
But then, the little guinea pig. They do it to the little guinea pig. And I think if I just access my media literacy, not that I agree with this, I think this is terrible, obviously. But I think the point they're making is a guinea pig's life is more valuable and worthwhile than a blind mulatto child. I think that's what they're trying to get. I think Charlie Brooker went a bit off the rails on this and was, you know, bit of a crazy take, but okay. Anyway, you get the gist, you get the gist. But unironically, racism jokes aside, it is actually a good episode of, it is a good episode. Slimed the baby for no reason. Could have smelled a nice stew with a guinea pig. But I can't help but notice just how white the woman is. You know what I'm saying? She is really fucking white, isn't she? They picked the whitest bitch they could find to slaughter the black family. There's something in that, I think. So there's something in that. Okay, guys, right, let's do some British politics.
Victoria, are you seriously asking me that question? Yes, I'm seriously asking you that question.
I'm not quite sure what Democratic point is going to make, fighting it out with Count BINFACE.
Nigel's not part of the establishment at all. The establishment.
Come on, you said that with a straight face.
No, Nigel's been very honest. That's it.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Frankly, it's kind of irrelevant what either of you think.
Can I ask
What's
you,
really relevant is what the people of Clacton think.
if Nigel Farage apologised, if he was found to have broken any rules, you'd be fine with that?
Tricked vulnerable women thinking that he could hypnotise them for larger breasts as a woman.
Oh, they getting in his act too.
Really?
We won't be standing a candidate in the by-election. You won't be? We won't be standing a candidate. Okay. Why are you saying wow, Fraser Nelson?
Because that means, as far as I can work out, only one candidate will face Nigel Farage at that by-election. That will be Count BINFACE.
Okay.
So what's Nigel Farage at the start of the day thinking would be a great test of his democracy?
Hey, Count BINFACE! I gotta say, the Labour are absolutely rinsing on that point. Rachel Reeves said, if Nigel Farage wants to spend the summer arguing with a bin, I'm not gonna stop him. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm not a massive Rachel Reeves guy, but that's pretty fucking decent, you gotta admit.
Democracy will end up literally as a two-horse race between Nigel Farage and Count BINFACE. And right now, you know, I have to say, with the British public being in the mood that they're in, I wouldn't entirely rule out Count BINFACE's chances.
Layla Cunningham, is this backfiring already?
Not at all. Listen.
How is it not if it's Count BINFACE versus Nigel Farage?
Political.
No, I do agree. It's very Reddit coded. The whole thing is very Reddit centrist dad coded. Oh, Count BINFACE might be Nigel Farage. I just find it all very tiresome. You know? It's like the country's in a fucking shit state. I don't mind a bit of irreverence. You know, fair enough. But you got these serious political commentators that are like, oh, Count BINFACE. Fuck off, bro.
Arguments are decided in an election in a democracy, right? And right now we do have two questions. We have the parliamentary standards question that has not been answered despite what the press seemed to allude to. And you have the second question, which is a political question, was do the people of Clacton still want Nigel to be their MP? And they are the only ones that can answer that. There is nothing illegitimate about going back to your constituents and saying, do you still want...
Okay, but why do I give a fuck what some, you know, triple lock fucking retard pensioner thinks about Nigel Farage? This is about his... You know, credibility as a candidate beyond that. And whilst, yes, you obviously vote for the MP, obviously we still have got a relevant conversation about whether someone who has got this level of, you know, political calamity is a worthwhile individual as a politician more broadly, no? The people of Clacton are gormless zombies. Yes, exactly, dude. Exactly. You know, there isn't a way that he can get this kind of broad support. You know, and it just looks stupid. And now the parties are pulled out, and it's going to be against Count BINFACE. I hate all the stupid commentary on it, but I mean, that's a fucking disaster. What an optics fucking L for Nigel, trying to pull off this, you know, this move to try and bolster support and get some sort of, you know, what is it called? Like a thing on his candidacy. And this has happened.
Want me. He is putting his political future in the hands of the electorate. And that to me shows courage and it shows accountability.
Hannah Spencer, how do the Greens react to this strategy of Mr Farage's?
I just think it's just a stunt, and I think people are really seeing that for what it is, and people are so fed up. In Clacton, I was there just before Christmas talking to people who really put their faith into someone that they thought was going to be different and who has arguably turned out to be part of the establishment he claims he's not a part of. This is someone who has taken £5 million and not declared it on a form that we're not talking, I don't think, about an error or a mistake, which I think I accept anybody can do that. This is an enormous sum of money that he has not declared on a form and now thinks he can worm his way out of it by pulling this massive stunt. What it does is throws people in that constituency who are already struggling, like so many people in the country, into further turmoil.
But if you think he's done wrong, if the Conservatives think he's done wrong, if Labour think he's done wrong, put your...
People talking like this are yeah, dude, I don't even think twice about it because I'm used to regional accents living here. But then Americans are like, huh, what? What's she saying? What's she saying? I don't understand what she's saying. Put the subtitles on. What is she saying? I don't even know what she's saying. She's just talking normal for me. And you guys are freaking out like she's speaking a foreign language.
Argument to the test of the electorate and stand a candidate. You can't...
Or let the parliamentary process take its course and see what the parliamentary standards says.
We saw that they're dragging their feet, right? He's already said today, they've declared that it's not going to be done until September. And what Nigel knows, it's going to be a long, protracted process. In the meantime, you've got the Times knocking on his daughter's house. He's done the ultimate thing and he's gone to the electorate, and that is pure democracy. You don't support democracy by sabotaging it and trying to delegitimise it by not standing. All of you are saying and chipping away at the sidelines and saying Nigel's wrong, he's indefensible. Well, defend your case, stand a candidate, put it to the electorate, but none of you have the guts to do so because you know you're going to be annihilated.
But the electorate already decided 2 years ago. They already decided, and they wanted someone who was going to represent them, and all they've got is someone who has avoided the truth. He's refused to accept whether he's done anything wrong, and this is not just this scandal. We are talking about someone who
how do you know he's done something wrong?
We're waiting to find out.
Exactly. You just said he's refused to accept he's done something wrong.
Do you know he's done something wrong? Well, I'd like to.
Whoa. This seems like a pretty weak argument from Reform. Has he done something wrong? By whose standards? By whose fucking standards? By my standards, yes. I think it is wrong to accept £5 billion in cash from some fucking crypto billionaire, not declare it, even if it turns out the investigation doesn't meet, or his behaviour doesn't meet the standards of the commission, the parliamentary thing. It's still terrible to do. Fucking hell, dude.
Like to find out without this absolute BINFACE
so you say this by-election is illegitimate, but nobody thought that of Makerfield. We had a Labour mayor quit being a Labour mayor, call some random by-election that Labour already had. Hang on.
Let me bring in Fraser Nelson.
You stood a candidate there, though. Everyone stood a candidate there. So why is this illegitimate, but the other one isn't?
What's the strategy?
Sorry, because this is a hissy fits by-election.
Why do you use Kemi Badenoch's words? Can you not use your own?
Oh, but I was writing those words long before Kemi Badenoch did it.
Did you write her words?
She might be using mine, but I've used that phrase several times.
About it? Why is it illegitimate?
I'll tell you why. I use those words, hissy fit by-election, because I think it's one of the worst things that an MP can do. I use those words to describe Nadine Dorris, who wasn't given a seat in the House of Lords. She's now joined Reform, but she had a hissy fit over not being in the Lords, so she forced her constituents into a by-election. How selfish can you get to see your constituents as props?
We're not talking about Nadine Dorris right now.
But no, so you asked about when I first used the word hissy fit. How selfish can you get to see your constituents as props to be sent into action to help you make some point? That gets the relationship the wrong way around, that you are there to serve them, they are not there to serve you. Now for Nigel Farage to do this, and I'm not quite sure what Democratic point he's going to make, fighting it out with Count BINFACE over a by-election. I mean, really, it is in a way, if that does happen, it will show...
By the way, I'm seeing a lot of posts on Twitter. Apparently this Count BINFACE guy, because he gets painted as this kind of like, oh, isn't he like a funny random guy that's running? I don't know how true this is, but there's claims about him being some writer for the BBC or something, right? They doxed him. So is what I'm seeing true? Because there is like a soft... It sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. But there is this kind of like soft power thing happening there, right? Let's have a look at this. Jonathan David Harvey is a British comedian and scriptwriter who runs as a novelty candidate Count BINFACE. BINFACE is an independent space warrior who wears a large bin-shaped helmet. Harvey previously stood a similar character, Lord Buckethead, but was forced to create a new character due to a dispute with filmmaker Todd Durham, who owns the Buckethead character. Okay. As BINFACE, Harvey stood as the candidate in the Uxbridge and South Ruislip constituency in the 2019 general election against Boris Johnson, and again at the 2023 by-election that followed Johnson's resignation. He stood in the London mayoral elections, stood against Rishi Sunak. Okay. He also stood in the Makerfield by-election, also intends to stand in the expected Clacton by-election. Harvey has used BINFACE to promote electoral participation with the slogan, "Make your vote count." Harvey originally stood as an independent, but his affiliation has been given since 2023 as Count BINFACE. Yeah, but the point is that traditionally he was literally just like a joke character, right? But now, check this guy's cock as he's circumcised. But now I'm like, hang on a minute. You're now part of a political conversation and you're being used to promote this absurdity of Nigel Farage. I know I've just got a lot of issues with Nigel Farage's shit at the moment. Okay. What is going on there? There's something in that, I think. The fact that now he's getting on the news and he's being interviewed as if he's just a joke candidate. But I don't think, there's something here. There's something going on there. Now, I'm not talking about some sort of elaborate conspiracy like the Jews are paying him or something like that. Right? I'm not suggesting that. But I think there's more of a political interest that this guy, individual, has got, in this. Do you see what I mean? He's been a joke for years. No, I know he's been a joke for years, but he's never been on the news before. He's never been on the fucking news. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's some sort of elaborate deep state plot in order to influence this. I'm saying that this guy has got some interest in this. He's got some sort of political interest in this himself, What about Makerfield? Yeah, I know about Makerfield, yes. I know he's a joke candidate. I know his background. You guys, okay, I think you guys are instinctively negative reacting to what I'm saying because you're suggesting I'm saying, oh my God, guys, Count BINFACE is a deep state conspiracy and he's being used to challenge Farage. It's not that I'm saying. It's more so just, I think this guy's got some political interest that is unstated. There isn't much to it, but I don't know, man. He's being brought onto the news. He's being used as his talking point of how absurd Farage is because Count BINFACE is the guy that he's running against. You see what I mean? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And he's obviously choosing to run in this by-election now against Farage and no one else is going to run. Very Reddit coded, yes. Very Reddit coded. He's a joke like the monster raving loony. Yes, no, sure, no. Okay, where's the monster raving loony party in all of this? Why is the monster raving loony party guy not being brought onto the fucking news and being spoken about to this fucking level? This is the most absurd coverage of Count BINFACE I've ever seen. And that's what I'm saying is there's, like people want to dismiss it out of hand. Like, no, there's nothing here, nothing here. I'm not saying it's an elaborate conspiracy. I'm not saying the state is running Count BINFACE as a spoiler for Nigel Farage. Okay? And I think people are looking at the absurdity and aren't looking, a little bit deeper. What am I saying? I think that there's, some political motivation that this guy has, but people don't even think about that part of it because he's just a funny BINFACE guy. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not suggesting some conspiracy. You know, I know that people are immediate. No, Chud, what do you mean? What are you talking? I'm not suggesting a Jewish fucking led conspiracy. I just think there's something worth noting. There's something worth noting here, and that's getting wiped away because people are just pointing to the absurdity of it, you know?
Well, thank you very much, Chairman and ladies and gentlemen. It's a delight to be here, even if one of my opponents has told you that I'm about to urge you to vote pedo. But no, in fact, my colleagues have been so eloquent in defending Athens, I'm not sure really you need me to add to it. But I can, however, make the case that the Spartans were wankers.
Okay, I don't know what this is.
This thing as a farce that it is. If the question is, did he break parliamentary rules? Not whether he did wrong or not. So the voters will decide whether taking £5 million from a Thai crypto billionaire and not declaring
he's not Thai,
it is
he's
wrong
British,
or not.
by the way.
Well,
people keep saying he's Thai.
Well,
he's British.
He's got a Thai identity.
So
he lives in Thailand. He pays his taxes in Thailand.
Are you saying that
he's even got a Thai name, hasn't he?
So as we said, I think just for the viewers, Nigel has said he's done nothing wrong. Yes, he received some money. It might be too much for you. I don't know what the threshold is for you, 5 million or not. He received money.
A friend. A box of chocolates is normally
well, I mean, that's to you, right? Everything is relative. You are not the judge and jury.
To Nigel Farage, £5 million is a way of saying thank you. Whatever.
Well, yeah, it is, but it's not you to judge what amount is acceptable. So the question is, he was in trouble, a friend helped him out, and he didn't declare. Nigel's done nothing illegal, nothing wrong, and it is up to the parliamentary standards to decide whether that was wrong not to declare it.
But they can't decide because they've had to suspend the
They've had a lot of time to decide.
He's triggered a by-election.
Well, because they said today it's going to be a protracted process. They had all the time in the world to decide, and they have not.
And if he wins...
Dude, the problem, this is a really bad line from Reform. And it really does conflict with Nigel Farage's working class credentials. You know, I'm on your side when he's getting, you know, like what is essentially a lottery win, right? That's how it's been referred to as well. This idea, it's like almost like a lottery win. It's an absolutely absurd amount of money. And it's so unbelievable that the money is for nothing. It's just a gift to spend on what he wants. So what's the idea that there's no political influence that can come about as a result of that we should be thinking of? Okay, dude.
Beats Count BINFACE, then the investigation resumes.
Well, I mean, listen, that is for Parliament to decide, whatever the result of that, right?
It resumes.
This is a democratic process, and people are saying he's avoiding scrutiny, or I think Kemi said he's terrified. Terrified people do not call by-elections.
Okay,
hang on, terrified people...
Okay. But the by-election is a political stunt. It's a total political stunt. It's not an actual meaningful accountability process. Accountability is saying, I will comply and assist with whatever the investigation is and go along with its findings. That's what accountability is. Saying, well, I'm just going to have a by-election and let the people of Cloughton decide. It's an irrelevance because... What, you know, your people that like you and support you don't care. Wow, what great fucking, incredible information. No, it doesn't fucking matter, bro. Obviously, your voters are going to support you anyway. It's about the broader concerns with an MP getting cash stuffed into their pockets in a way that is not meaningfully, you know, accessible.
People like Labour and Conservatives try and cancel elections like they did in May. Like Burnham's not calling a general election. That's what terrified people do. Terrified people don't go to the electorate and put all their political future in the hands of tens of thousands of people. Say all the information is out there, vote for me. That is guts and that is courage.
Just to say, we've asked Nigel Farage for an interview probably 15 to 20 times now on Newsnight, just to say.
For him,
he's declined. That's fine, and that's his right. There's no law that says he has to be interviewed on Newsnight. If I may ask some questions.
The ultimate judge is the electorate.
Okay.
It is
in his address today,
or political insiders.
In his address today, he said the establishment have now decided they can't beat us fairly. Nigel Farage is a privately educated former city broker who's been a member of the political class for 30 years. He's a multi-millionaire. He's got 5 properties. His party is funded by a billionaire. He couldn't be any more establishment, could he?
Nigel's not part of the establishment at all. The establishment.
Come on, you said that with a straight face.
No, of course I did. The establishment is the BBC. The establishment is the Times. The establishment is political insiders trying to make the decision when the only decision that counts.
Dude, he's like some moneyed ex-trader. Like, dude, it's such bollocks, man. And he's getting cash stuffed in his pockets by fucking wealthy. Oh my god, dude. No, he's actually against the establishment. He's basically like Robin Hood.
Is the electorate. So what? Hang on, Victoria.
No,
are you saying?
if I may, I've just got to correct some of your incorrect assertions, if I may. No one's trying to make a decision except the Parliamentary Standards Commission.
She did. She said he's not going to admit that he did something wrong.
Let me ask you about whether voters can trust what Nigel Farage says. He told everyone the 5 million he got from the wealthy friend in Thailand was for personal security. Then he said it was a reward for campaigning for Brexit. Then he said he could spend it on Ferraris if he wanted. Then he seemed to suggest to Good Morning Britain that he hadn't spent any of the 5 million. So how can voters trust what he says when it keeps changing?
What's the difference? I mean, all can be true.
Do you not see the difference
he said
in
it's
those
an
explanations?
he said it's an unconditional gift. But Christopher Harborne saw that Nigel Farage, I mean, he is constantly, every day, receiving death threats. It is a horrible.
I understand that.
You've asked me a question, so let me
it's
answer.
about his income.
How much does, dude, how much does security cost? How much does fucking security cost exactly? That £5 million is needed for security. Very nebulous for security. For what security? What's the fucking breakdown of that then?
Consistent explanations on why people can't trust.
I don't find any of those reasons inconsistent.
Okay.
All can be true.
As well as the 5 million from Christopher Harborne, he got benefits in kind like security, social media staff, free accommodation from the convicted criminal George Cottrell in the 12 months before he was an elected MP. Again, he didn't disclose those once he became an MP. What other cash or benefits has he accepted that voters don't know about?
Nigel has been very clear. He has followed all the rules. He was not an MP. He was not thinking of running as an MP. An election hadn't been called. He was a social media influencer. You have to declare it.
I literally had to fill in that form just months ago.
Yeah, and he has declared stuff.
He didn't declare a lot of that stuff that has just been listed. That's the
So
problem.
that's for the parliamentary. I just want to be sure.
So it's for them to decide, not for him to just throw his toys out of the pram and say, I'm going to have a by-election.
If I may.
The timeline is pretty clear on this, right? Anything 12 months before an election has to be disclosed. This happened 12 months before the cultural stuff was in the election, leading to the election, and none of it was disclosed. And also, yeah, Starmer's glasses. Which how do we know about Starmer's glasses? Because he disclosed it. Because he actually fucking disclosed it as you're supposed to, right? And clearly Nigel Farage didn't want that fucking noise. So he thought, I was not going to put it down. Fuck it. Yes, Starmer declared it, and that's how everyone knew, because that's the point of it, is so that politicians could be held to account. Something which he fucking mocked with his little comment about his glasses, by the way. And to be honest with you, I don't think Farage went particularly heavy on Starmer over that. And I think the reason is because he knew that he was kind of raped on it, and he couldn't really.
Stand and fight the battle.
Do you have any idea if he's accepted other stuff that he hasn't disclosed that perhaps the electorate should know about?
No.
You don't. He hasn't, you don't know.
Nigel has done everything. But
I looked at it. I don't think there was actually much commentary from Farage. I could be wrong. I missed it. There doesn't seem to be much commentary from Farage beyond the glasses comment. I think he made some sort of brief comments towards it, but I don't know if he asked him to resign over it necessarily. I can't remember.
By the book, and I've got to reiterate: the parliamentary standards has not reached a decision.
Sure.
And that's it. And I don't think it's up to political insiders, journalists, or other MPs.
No one's making a decision.
Well,
I'm just asking you. Has he?
Farage did go heavy against him. The only thing I could find was that one clip of him talking about his glasses, but I could have missed it. Where can I see that?
He accepted other stuff, cash. Other benefits in kind from other people that the electorate doesn't yet know about.
Victoria, are you seriously asking me that question?
Yes, I'm seriously asking you that question.
I mean, no, not that I know of, and no, he hasn't.
Do you think he should now tell voters in Clacton about the lot? Anything else that there is that he may not have disclosed, so voters in Clacton can make a really informed decision when it comes to this by-election?
You know what voters in Clacton really care about?
If you could answer that question, do you think he should tell
Nigel's
them?
been very honest. That's
sorry.
it.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I mean,
sorry.
are you saying he has? Are you passing judgment on the parliamentary standards?
I think it's all just not stacking up. Like the maths is not.
Okay, so you've made your judgment already.
It's not particularly honest to conceal that from people. I mean,
he didn't conceal it. No, he did not conceal it. It did not.
Who did he mention it to?
It didn't have to be disclosed.
It did. The rules are very clear.
So hang on. Are you saying? Is that what the parliamentary standards have found? Because I didn't hear of it.
The rules, as Hannah was saying, she filled in the form. The rules say, correct me if I'm wrong, Hannah, but the rules say that the gift of test is not if you think it's given. If others could see it as influencing your politics, you should declare it.
And if you're not sure, you declare it anyway.
That's the guidance.
Yes, dude.
That's very clear.
And he was sure that it was not relevant to declare. And now.
What the? Yeah, 5 million quid stuffed in your pocket. Yeah, probably nothing to think about. We're not talking about some guy buying you a fucking Uber Eats order. We're talking about fucking £5 million, bro. Dude, this is disastrous. This is just a total sweep job. How can reform explain this away? It's impossible, dude. It's impossible.
The test is not whether you or Hannah can see it. The test is whether
others can see it.
Well,
that's
the
test, literally the test. Whether others think.
So are you making the decision for the parliamentary standards, or are you going to wait for the process?
I'm telling you what I think. She's telling me
what you think, and I'm telling you what I think. And it's frankly, it's
wonderful.
Kind of irrelevant.
But
what
how do I
either
make
think.
money?
Can I ask you? Really relevant.
People.
Look, I didn't want to be mocked, so I lied. The truth is that I needed the money, because I bought a house that I though needed some reforms and I ended up having to change everything. I didn't want to be known as the retard that bought a money pit.
Thank you for the $5. Money pit is fair. Money pit is a fair comment, but you know we're at the end of it now, more or less. Just need to do one more thing. Just one more thing I need to do, and it'll be sorted.
Relevant is what the people of Clacton think.
Sure. Can I ask? If I may, can I ask you this? Are you? I would like to know what you think.
Yes.
Because you are a colleague of Nigel Farage. Are you okay with him, with Mr. Farage, who wants to be Prime Minister, who wants to run this country, being close friends with a convicted fraudster, the man called George Cottrell?
Yes, I am, because you know what? It's a testament.
Do you know what he did?
I do know. I know very well what he did, because it's a testament to Nigel's
Should we tell our
character.
audience what he did?
Please feel free. I don't.
Chud's already swapping out his Reform Yard sign with a Restore Britain one. He's also, relatedly, exchanging the UK flag with a swastika. Shall I start flying a swastika out my window? See what sort of response I get.
I think it's a secret.
He went, according to the Sunday Times, he went on the dark web and he offered drug dealers an opportunity to launder their proceeds through crypto. And Mr. Farage wants to be Prime Minister. What does it say about his judgment that he hangs around with this guy?
So George Cottrell spent his time in prison. He is completely reformed. He's sorry for what he did, and he is a...
Bro, make that argument with a pedo and see how that goes down. Are you serious? Are you serious that it's just, oh, well, he's gone to prison now? Dude, you cannot be knocking about with criminals, man. That's mental. That is literally fucking mental, bro. He isn't a pedophile. I know he's not a pedophile, but the point I'm making is this is not an argument you could make across all different fucking manner of crimes, right? So what is the argument then? The argument was what he did isn't really that big a deal then. We'll make that fucking argument then. Don't use the he's gone to prison and he's reformed, because you wouldn't use that if they were a pedophile or murderer, would you?
Convicted fraudster. and listen.
And you're cool with it?
No, but hang on.
I mean, this is a question of Farage's political, assessment and whatnot. Like you cannot, as a mainstream political party leader, be knocking about with criminals even if they've served their fucking sentence. It's absurd.
Scrutinise us as much as you want, and this is not to deflect. Ask me whatever questions you want. But I do find it remarkable that we have a Prime Minister who's about to become Prime Minister who is mooting putting an actual convicted fraudster into cabinet. George Cottrell was a volunteer. We were never going to give him any official role. He wasn't going to be a cabinet. In fact, they were mooting that Louise Haigh should be Chancellor. Where is the out?
How are you acting? Oh, this is the Count BINFACE stuff. Yes, I know he runs on joke policies. You're totally misunderstanding my point. I'm not saying that Count BINFACE is a serious political actor and he's running because he thinks he's going to win, right? What I'm getting at is a joke candidate should be a joke candidate, and that should be the end of it, right? They run as a joke, they get 30 votes, and that's it, right? Now he's being bought into this and being used as this kind of lightning rod of criticism against Farage when he's supposed to be a fucking joke candidate. And I think this Count BINFACE guy has got, you know, some political interest in being a part of that process. That's all I'm fucking saying, dude.
The outrage about that. And I
That's
think what people see is that it is not consistent. You can scrutinise as much as you want, but you have to put it across the board. Otherwise, it does look like hypocrisy, and it looks like you're taking sides.
And if Andy Burnham gives Louise Haigh a role in cabinet, we will definitely ask that question.
The fact that he's hanging out with a convicted fraudster, is that a problem?
Fraser Nelson.
Just like you're talking about Nigel.
In terms of the media pylon, the establishment hit job, Mr Farage did talk today about the editor of The Times deciding to, as he put it, publish a picture of where his daughter lives. You're not the editor of The Times. I appreciate that. You work for them. Do you have anything to say on behalf of The Times, though?
Yeah, it's a very good investigation. The Times has got something like a 200-year history of doing it. I was working for The Times where they were scrutinising Lord Ashcroft and his relationship.
Honestly, it is an absolutely quality bit of reporting from The Times, I must say. This is exactly the kind of press that you want. But again, it's very Trump-esque, isn't it? Painting the press as, you know, fake news and dismissing everything that they say. When The Times has, you know, got no real grounds to make this criticism. They're generally a credible, high-quality newspaper. I mean, they were calling it a fucking Labour rag. Yeah, they were calling it a fucking Labour rag, dude. And they're like centre-right, conservative-esque kind of paper.
With the Conservative Party.
But the reality is, The Times has got a centre-right bias. But they went at fucking Boris Johnson before. Like, The Times is a generally good paper. It's a generally good, high-quality paper that just is in the interest of holding politicians to account for things that they do.
They have a 200-year history of doorstepping people's children who are not politically engaged. Is that what you're saying?
Journalists go to politicians and ask them. But by the way, this has happened in democracies, not just Britain, but every democracy.
Hang on.
For a very long time, they knock on your door.
It's not his door. It was clear that it was his daughter's door. Are you saying, is that the policy of the Times, that you can go and doorstep people's children who have nothing to do with politics? Because I have children, and I can tell you that if you doorstep my adult children...
I don't think they went to his daughter's house, right? Wasn't it one of the houses that they rented? I mean, I could have a problem with them going. I don't, you know, maybe there's some issue there. The problem that I've got is it's the emotional manipulation. Okay? The emotional manipulation of his daughter, my daughter, my daughter, my daughter, my daughter. It's his house and he's registered to vote there. Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, what's the fucking problem?
I would be ballistic. They've got nothing to do with politics and it endangers them. And you know that Nigel already has a massive...
Okay, spare me. Spare me this fucking bollocks, right? When everyone was laughing about those Ukrainians that firebombed Keir Starmer's doorstep and claimed that they had gay sex with them, okay? Spare me your fucking tears, bro. No thank you. Don't fucking care.
Massive security.
Are you considering a property empire?
Are you saying a property empire? Are you saying there's a problem with owning houses? Are we now a communist society where we cannot own houses?
No, but again, you're supposed to declare them. He didn't.
Well, again, is that a parliamentary standards finding?
Well, this is one of the things which Parliament's been looking at, because this is the second thing. By the way, a couple of weeks ago we thought that...
So hang on.
Was Boris one of the worst PMs ever? Yes, 100% without question. And his conduct significantly added to the catastrophe that was the initial response to COVID. Boris Johnson was a fucking terrible Prime Minister.
Can we just go back to you saying...
Now we've got the George cultural donation, now we've got the property thing.
Can you just
Two new things he didn't declare.
That's fine. Can we
this
just
is
go
a subject of public interest. Journalists will ask questions in a free society.
Listen, as a politician myself, and I think people watching TV would want to know, I just want to clarify what you said, that it is a 200-year tradition to doorstep...
investigative journalism, absolutely.
To doorstep, are you justifying then? To doorstep people's... to publicise where people's children live. You're saying that's fine?
But
you accept that?
Sorry, this happens in every democracy.
Sorry, do you
I'm
accept
not quite
that?
sure what the problem is.
Do you accept that that is fine? You're saying that that's fine on your newspaper, publishing a young girl's address who has nothing to do with politics. You're saying that's okay, are you?
We didn't publish a young girl's address.
Yes, you did.
No,
you published her house, which is very easy to find through AI now.
We didn't publish the address, really?
You published a photo.
I've no idea how old she is.
You published a photo, and you're accepting that that's
fine.
fine.
In a feature exposing a property empire which had been concealed wrongly from the parliamentary authorities.
You said it was...
That's what investigative journalism is about.
No, because the piece said his daughter lived there. I'm just asking, Fraser, are you defending that?
Yes, it's a very good investigation.
Let me bring in Hannah Spencer.
They deserve to know where his children live.
They deserve to know who's financing politicians. They deserve to know where...
Okay. Nigel Farage is complaining about the Times publishing a picture of this house, owned by him, that's been in public domain for over a decade after previously posing in front of it. Under the code, MPs are... Okay. And that's the house. MPs are exempt from declaring homes occupied by the family or friends, and at present, Farage's daughters live with the property. However, the fact that an unrelated man also lives at the address complicates the picture. The rules state that the MPs must declare any properties where they receive rent of more than £10,000 a year, which amounts to £833 a month. Right, I see. So if family members live in there, it's exempt, but if another person lives there and they're paying rent, that complicates it. Oh. Well, there he is there outside the house. So I guess it's okay for journos to turn up if they're on his side. Is that the idea? Okay, so that's that. And then this is the apparent harassment of the daughter. So let's see. I've not actually watched this in full yet, so this is a good opportunity to have a look. So this is the same property, is it? The Kent house, we're just seeing the other angle of it. Is that right? Right. Oh, nice car. Nice, isn't it? They're paying these journos too much, if you ask me. It's a different day. Sorry, is this a problem? I guess I don't really see the problem. You know, I don't want to be like inconsistent on this topic, and I do have like I do have an issue with the way in which, sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on my delivery. I do have a problem with the way in which the press can get away with way more than like a normal person can. Like they can show up at a property and whatnot, right? But I just, it's been publicised, it's in the fucking paper before. I don't know, I don't think I can really see it. I don't see the vision. I don't see the vision of this. It's like, it's a place he's publicised as living at. A journalist knocking on his door politely to, you know. It's like when they turn up at Boris Johnson's house and he came up with the cups of tea. I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm genuinely trying to see it from the other side.
Hello? Hi there, can you open this door?
Yeah, dude. Dude, they're acting like this is what the Sky News did.
For what?
I just want to make sure that everything's okay.
What do you mean, get out of my house?
Where's your daughter, man?
It's literally perfect, dude. They're acting like this is a Sky News guy. Where's your daughter? Where's your daughter? Sky News are liars, and here's the proof. When Nigel Farage said they turned into his daughter's house, they denied it. They're liars and totally unethical. There's no public interest in hounding of Nigel's daughter. Sky News are a disgrace. Yeah, but they're not turning up to his daughter's house. They're turning up to a house that is publicised as him having... Dude, no, this is a sweep job for to try and obfuscate and distract away from the issue. That's what this is. This is clearly an effort to be like, oh, look, the mainstream media lying again. Zia Yusuf is the, what do you call it? He's Farage's mate, financial guy for Reform. Right? I can't remember what he does for Reform, but anyway. It is very MAGA. It is very MAGA, yes. Okay, I don't think this is anywhere close to the issue that Reform are trying to make it out to be.
money meets power. Journalists are there to disclose because politicians don't always disclose.
So hang on. What is the public interest in knowing that his daughter lives there? What is the public interest?
Because if you're doing an investigation about the property, who lives where, how it's done, these sort of things are very relevant.
So what is the relevance of saying his daughter lives there and showing a picture of it? What is the public interest?
Oh my God. Because the rules allow a politician to not disclose something if there's a family member living there, okay? Well, the journalistic investigation is it true that it's just a daughter living there, or is there a third party living there? Because if there's a third party paying rent, that would mean that that property needs to be disclosed. That's the relevance. Very fucking simple.
Public interest in that. I think it's relevant to know. And if you're really interested in where money and politics intersect in an evil manner,
very much.
Why do you
perhaps
not?
you can tell us the sources of reforms money.
It's interesting. And
or
listen,
perhaps you can tell us who else is given donations
as I
to Nigel
said,
Farage.
ask as much as you want. But why do you not question the fact that since Labour Party came into power, they've given 138 million of government contracts to their donors? Somehow that intersection between money and politics doesn't cross your desk. No, it's not. No, I've never read a story about it.
Billionaires giving money under the carpet to politicians who do them favours. And has Reform not got the most pro-crypto manifesto of any party?
And so you think...
So what? Because crypto billionaires are right, we're making yuga. They're spending...
What's wrong with...
They're giving most of the money...
Okay,
thank you.
I'm got conflict of interest and it's egregious.
You think it's fine for the Labour Party to give their donors 130...
Yeah, I do need to get a Ring doorbell. I'll get that eventually. How does it work? Do you just stick it on, drill it in? Do I have to pay someone to drill it into the wall? How does that work?
38 million worth of government contracts.
That's for the public to decide.
Well, you haven't even reported on it.
The public can't decide what they don't know about.
Well, exactly. They don't know about it because you don't report it.
Hannah Spencer, your leader called Nigel Farage, agreed today. Very, very different circumstances, but your leaders had a number of questions to answer, whether it's about owing council tax money, a donation he made to his own party, which then he had to be returned because he wasn't registered as a voter. And
yes, dude, a bit Polanski snark at the end.
Incorrectly describing himself as a Red Cross spokesperson, he apologised for that. Are you worried about your leader's judgment?
No, because I think the key thing that you've just said at the end is there. He apologised for it.
So if Nigel Farage apologised, if he was found to have broken any rules, you'd be fine with that?
There's more information that voters will be able to decide on. That is a crucial part here, that it is a test of someone's character, that when you do something wrong, you make a mistake, you perhaps don't do the right thing, you...
By the way, this is not true. Initially, Polanski's goons, right, actually lied at first. They lied to the press when they were asked about it. They lied to the press. So this isn't true. He wasn't transparent straight away.
Reflect on that and you apologise.
He's made quite a lot of mistakes in quite a short period of time.
He's lied about loads of stuff,
yeah. I really don't think it's the same thing.
He tricked vulnerable women thinking that he could hypnotise them for larger breasts. As a woman, you accept that?
I don't think that's quite what happened.
Really?
However, he has apologised for it several times, and I would rather work with
sorry
people.
abolishes everything.
Can I just finish? I've just sat and listened to this, so I'm going to speak for a few minutes. To have people who actually reflect on what they've done and then apologise and try and fix it, and that is really clear. The council tax, for example, he has asked the council, he will pay whatever he's owed. If he's found to owe anything, he will pay it. But I think the money about Nigel Farage is one thing, but we also need to talk about the fact he's an MP that was elected to do one of the most important and vital jobs that a lot of people think is, deciding the laws of this country. He's very rarely in the constituency. He's very rarely in Parliament. There was months where he didn't vote.
How often he's in the constituency? How do you know that?
I've been to Clapton.
I've been to Clapton.
People always say...
Literally, all they've got is pivot to Farage bad, rather than answer for fucking Polanski's own shit.
They say he doesn't do in-person surgeries. He doesn't answer emails.
Because it's due to security risk.
I also have the same security risk, and I'm out in the constituency.
Okay, please stop talking over each other.
Constituency.
You have no idea how
Please stop talking over each other.
Oh, cat fights!
A bit of trust that has been broken, that people wanted someone who was going to work hard for them. Looking at his register of interest, honestly, my finger was sore from scrolling. Because it's called not doing your job.
He's always been successful. You know what, Hannah? If you really think
not doing his job as an MP,
field a candidate and put it to the people of Clacton.
He's so busy schmoozing with billionaires, selling gold, whatever it is, other than being in the House of Commons.
Okay, I'm going to look at some of tomorrow's front pages. Thanks, Layla Cunningham.
Dude, fucking annoying women. Right, on this topic, let's just do a quick Immigrant Watch update, okay? Quick Immigrant Watch.
An international manhunt is underway for a husband and father who is believed to have murdered his wife and 2 young daughters. Zandili Chuma, 5-year-old Nala, and 15-year-old Natalie were found dead in their family home in Great Denham in Bedford.
Oh, la-di-da! Wow, they're giving the blacks mansions, are they?
Endorna Dana McCann Yazi Chuma, also known as Mark, is wanted in connection. Endorna Dana McCann Yazi Chuma, also known as Mark, is wanted in
also known as Mark.
Connection with their murders. Seen here at Heathrow Airport on Saturday, shortly before he boarded a plane on his British passport. Police say they believe he is now in Zimbabwe.
Mark, I am now speaking to you directly. Unthinkable harm has been caused to those around you. 3 innocent people have lost their lives in the worst possible circumstances, leaving your relatives and friends devastated.
Heartbroken school friends supported each other outside the house. They told us Natalie was so special.
She was so lovely, she was always smiling. It was really difficult seeing everyone at school.
It's just so hard to comprehend something like this happening to a person like that. And I just keep thinking, like, it might sound bad, but like, why did it have to happen to them?
Dude, you know this is sad, because even the racists in chat and myself are actually a bit like, fucking hell, that was a bit much, isn't it?
And just the whole family, her mum as well, was always so supportive and so kind.
And all day, people have laid flowers here, remembering 2 young girls and their well-liked mother.
They were a very nice family.
Yeah, honestly, you would have expected him to just crash out and slaughter some random patriot in the street with a knife. But this is actually very white-coded, slaughtering your wife and kids. Bro, that's the problem, dude, who's too influenced by British culture.
The daughter went to school with my son.
White culture.
Yeah, I'm still shocked about it all.
Yeah.
I really am.
Concerns were raised with the police on Monday after the family hadn't been seen for a number of days. Yesterday, a murder investigation was launched after officers broke into the property and found 3 bodies. Police tapes.
Would you be sad if I got murdered? I need to calculate your rough monthly kick rate to figure out whether I'd be upset or not.
Surrounds the swimming pool at the side of the house where the family had lived for just over 2 years. Officers say anyone who witnessed anything unusual in the days leading up to Saturday should get in touch.
Dude, that's the thing. I mean, obviously I'm being a bit silly about the house. The reality is some of these blacks, they do have quite a lot of money. Like, people think that people that are, you know, coming over are just like wretched immigrants that have got a pot to piss in. But particularly some of the ones that are on proper visas, a lot of them come over with a fucking shit ton of money, you know? And they fucking get a nice house and they got decent jobs or whatever.
But their main appeal is to the man they believe killed his wife and daughters to turn himself in.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's going to do that.
Police forensic teams are still working here at the scene tonight, and members of the community continue to arrive to leave flowers and tributes to those who've lost their lives. Over the next few days, we are expecting post-mortem examinations to be carried out to determine the cause of these deaths. But there is no doubt that the fact that the main suspect in this triple murder investigation is thousands of miles away is adding a layer of complexity for the investigating teams.
Surely we must have some sort of agreement with the likes of Zimbabwe to send them back the other direction, right? Surely we must be able to get this black fellow, you know, back in the custody. Because Zimbabwe probably won't do anything, will they? They're probably shit at this. And also, I don't even know if they would be able to do anything to him. Black people are coming over and taking our jobs and killing our... Well, in this case, it wasn't actually one of ours. So, you know. Contract written on cocoa leaf and crayon. Yeah, we got agreements.
Okay, Stacey Foster in Great Denham, thank you.
I am Detective Inspector Lee Martin, the Senior Investigating Officer from the Major Crime Unit. We have been carrying out a number of lines of inquiry as part of this fast-paced, complex investigation into the death of a woman and her 2 children.
Chud Prime.
We know that the suspect, who we are naming today as Endordana
evil
Makanyezi
twin.
Chuma, also known as Mark, left the country on Saturday using a British passport. He is now believed to be in Zimbabwe. Mark, I am now speaking to you directly. Unthinkable harm has been caused to those around you. Three innocent people have lost their lives in the worst possible circumstances, leaving your relatives and friends devastated. We are throwing the full weight of the law behind this investigation. Criminal investigations know no borders. We are actively working with national and international agencies to pursue every available line of inquiry to track you down. And we will find you. So please, do the right thing, come forward and hand yourself in to local authorities. Our thoughts are still very much with those who
Hey, you sub-Saharan beast, please turn yourself
have lost their
in.
lives, as well as all of those who loved and knew them at this extremely difficult time. Thank you.
He's not even got him, he's walking away already. Okay. Okay, right, I've got time for one more thing before I need to... I'm tracking my delivery, so I think I've got time for one more thing. And then I'll take a break for a bit and to sort this out. But then I'll be back after that, okay? And we'll do some drama stuff later. So fear not, guys. You're getting 2 streams today.
Why are you so
You're getting
defensive?
2 streams
Because
today.
you're asking me very personal questions in a public channel.
Personal? You write a book about taking money off the rich. I said, how rich are you?
Well, all right, so if it's not
it is
personal,
like route
if it's
one
not
question.
personal, if it's not personal, Piers, if you tell me how much you're worth, I will tell you how much I'm worth.
Go on.
If I tell you how rich I am,
Dude, honestly, I am going autistic over this tax stuff, man. I have been looking into tax way more than I ever had. There is probably a personal reason there, I would say. I'm actually literally waiting on the precipice of hearing back from my accountant about, you know, what I need to do. Because I'm going to probably have to, like I say, do this limited company fucking shit. Oh my God, what a hassle. But anyway, things are moving up with that. But what it has done, so I saw a story earlier, and at first it was from the Telegraph. So I thought, I don't know, the Telegraph can be a bit biased towards the fucking mega wealthy cunts, right? But it was based on this OBR analysis, right? And basically, if there needs to be either, at best is both, obviously, but there needs to be either an increase in tax revenue or a decrease in government spending in the UK, or we're raped. We're totally raped. We are spending too much money at the moment as a fucking state. And the tax, you know, the reality is there needs to be one or the other or both. And then you've got idiots like this coming along that propose a wealth tax, which is flawed at the start. And the amount of money it would yield is like £24 billion, right? Which, that's best case scenario. That's dishonest as well, not taking into account how people's behaviour would change. But beyond that too, it doesn't even really fund that much. It doesn't even really fund that much fucking stuff anyway. I think it's like X amount of time the NHS it would fund or some shit like that. It's just totally worthless, bro. Totally fucking worthless.
you'll tell me how rich you are. To the nearest 5.
Nearest 5.
Promise.
Dude, this is the... Okay, do you want to know the truth of it? Do you want to know the fucking reality of it? When you're a lefty, you don't fucking look into the intricacies of it. You just fucking don't, bro. You just don't think about the intricacies of it. That's the truth of it, bro. That's why all these lefties are economically illiterate, because you don't understand and know how government, massive economies, or whatever work. They go off vibes. It's just how it is, bro. It's just how it fucking is, dude. They do not get it, and they do not fucking understand it, right? There are some people that maybe have got some insight or some, you know, but the kinds of people that spout out platitudes like tax the rich and shit like that, they just don't fucking understand it, and they don't get it. And they don't fucking get it. Sure, okay, but let me ask you this, Q-Star. Would an educated lefty on the economy just spout out some platitude like, we need to tax the rich more? we need to tax the rich more. No, they fucking wouldn't. They would have a more sophisticated analysis and perspective, and they would say, well, that's a bit more complicated. These are some taxes that could work, but that needs to be balanced. Da, 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 da. They wouldn't just say the fucking platitudes, right? And that's the problem. The popular lefties are not the ones that are fucking educated on this topic. They're the ones that spit out platitudes without knowing the intricacies of how economies and shit actually fucking work. You know? So I'm not, you know, to be clear, I'm not saying there aren't lefties that have got some ideas and maybe some other aspects or interests in like how to do it. It's more so just that, you know, there's a lot of lefties that are prominent that just have got platitudes without understanding the intricacies of how an economy works.
Go on then. Gary Stevenson is a former financial trader, a best-selling author and a self-styled inequality economist. He's built a rock star following online for his acerbic commentary delivered with passion.
Wait, what? Did he just say it? Sorry, I missed it.
Why are you so defensive?
Because you're asking me very personal questions in a public channel.
You write a book about taking money off the rich. I said, how rich are you?
All right, so if it's not
personal,
if it's not personal, please, if you tell me how much you're worth, I will tell you how much I'm worth.
Go on.
If I tell you how rich I am, you'll tell me how rich you are. To the nearest 5.
Nearest 5.
Promise.
Go on then.
Oh.
Gary Stevenson.
Wait, did I miss it? Did he do the janitor line?
Is a former financial trader, a best-selling author and a self-styled inequality economist. He's built a rock star following online for his acerbic commentary delivered with passion from the unique standpoint of a multi-millionaire city trader turned heel on the system which made him. But of course, with a great following comes great animosity. Stevenson's critics say he's overstating his own success as a trader while transposing left-wing politics for real economics and manufacturing poverty porn from a position of personal comfort.
This is what I was talking about. UK will need vast fiscal tightening to avert debt spiral, OBR predicts. Britain will need extra tax rises or spending cuts equivalent to the entire education budget early next decade to prevent government debt spiralling higher from current levels, the OBR said on Tuesday. The independent budget watchdog's annual look at the long-term sustainability of the public finances showed government debt was likely to move on to an unsustainable and ever-rising path in virtually all of its scenarios. Jesus, man. As in past years, the OBR cited an ageing population and rapidly increasing spending on healthcare as key reasons why the public finances look to be on an unsustainable footing. The findings underline the constraints facing the Prime Minister in waiting, Andy Burnham, who was sought to reassure investors by pledging to stick with the government's existing fiscal rules. Not the boats. Well, the thing is with immigration, okay, immigration is meant to support tax receipts so that we can spend for an aging population. So in order for it to work, immigrants need to come over here and contribute tax-wise to the system. The whole point that immigrants are favourable is they've not cost us money to educate. So they come over, they start working, they start paying into the public purse straight away. So, you know, realistically, like boat people are a problem because they are just a fucking drain. And obviously there is a humanitarian thing of looking after asylum seekers and stuff, right? Yes, obviously. But that needs to come with a limit. Realistically, though, that's, not really the main issue, even though this is where the populist writers will go, oh, it's the boat people. That's, a contributing factor, right? That's like a contributing factor to it, but it's not the be-all and end-all of the situation that we're in. And there's other factors that have massively influenced our financial plight. Things like Brexit, for example. Brexit has had a significant negative detriment on our country. And we've not really recovered from that. Growth is like, I don't fucking know, flat 0 point something %. It's like diabolical. But yeah. Yes, we do have problems, but it's not the be all and end all. It's not the be all and end all. The reality is, we have got a burgeoning shoulder to bear for the elderly. That's it. That's what this primarily comes down to, right? Ask any tax person and they'll point out two things that we spend too much money on and it's going to increase. One is the state pension and the other thing is disability benefits. Those are the two things that are growing and are going to become more of a problem unless something is done about it now. Those are the two things that could be targeted for cuts, you know? And the problem is that after COVID, like, the way that our disability payments work is fucking crazy, bro. Go and look into it. It's fucking demented. There's loads of people on psychiatric disorders that are on there, right? You don't need to provide doctor's evidence to submit a claim. You can just do it on the base. Also, another thing, do you know what? Bro, I forgot about this. Do you know what else I found out? About the fucking disability payments in the UK? You don't even have to have a face-to-face interview. You don't even need to go and speak to someone. You can do it virtually. You can do it over the phone or on a fucking call now. How crazy is that, bro? How fucking mental is that? You can get on a call like this and fucking claim disability benefits without working into a single fucking office, bro. That's fucking crazy. What do you mean you couldn't have to see anyone? That's fucking mental. Is that not crazy, dude? Is that not fucking mental? That you don't even need to physically see someone to approve them for fucking benefits. So you could just get on a call, bed blob your way through it, and even if that's not successful, you can appeal it, and there's a 66% overturn rate on decisions that are made on these benefits. It's fucking mental, bro. It's an absolute fucking... It's mind-boggling. I started looking at this more because of the Motability shit. And you start to untangle the web, and you're like, fuck me, dude. It's actually unironic that the disableds have got it way too fucking good in the UK at the moment, right? It's crazy, the amount of money that's spent on it. It's going to grow, and the means with which to get it is so simple. It's way too fucking much. Yes, exactly. A lot of it is rooted in COVID. Like, for example, the fact you don't need to see anyone. That's a COVID-era policy that has stayed because it's easier to administer, but then it leads to people being... I mean, think about it, bro. Think about it, right? You don't need fucking medical evidence necessarily. You get on a call, you're asked about your ability to do certain tasks, okay? What do you think people are going to do? Do you think they're going to go, oh, actually, on this day I can do it okay? They're going to go, oh no, what, make a cup of tea for myself or whatever? Oh no, I couldn't do that. Go outside, I'm too depressed. Approved, boom. It's fucking mental, bro. It's mental. Yes, PIP is important, but it needs to be for people that fucking need it. You know, my vision of it would be if you've had like a heart attack or something, or some shit like that, or you've got a serious condition, yes. Or if you've got a serious psychiatric disorder, like schizophrenia or some shit, yeah, I can see that. Sure. But there's people with fucking anxiety and autism and shit that are fucking claiming it. It's fucking crazy, bro. It's honestly insane. And the projections of how much it's going to increase by are fucking eye-watering. Anyway, if you think I'm just spouting some conservative claptrap, go and fucking look at it. You will... Honestly, it has been so eye-opening understanding more about how that payment scheme works in the UK. It's fucking mental. Anyway, you get the gist. The OBR's assessment shows that Labour government's existing plans, even if delivered in full, would not be enough to stop debt climbing over the long term, leaving little room for higher public spending associated with Burnham's platform. To keep public debt at its current level of around 95% of economic output, the OBR said the government would need to permanently improve the primary balance, the gap between revenues and expenditure, excluding debt interest, by 3.8% of economic output in this financial year. Dude, it's not conservative, bro. It's not conservative. Dude, I just broke this fucking stupid thing. It's not conservative, dude. He who shall not work shall not eat. You know who said that? Margaret Thatcher? No, Vladimir Lenin said that. Dude, it's not a fucking lefty principle to give handouts to people that can fucking work, bro. From each according to his ability to each according to his need, okay? They weren't talking about giving BMWs to some fat retard for 3k up front and a fucking, you know, sacrificing a small portion of your benefits. That wasn't what they were talking about, dude. That wasn't what they were fucking... You were talking about some fucking wheelchair-ridden freak. That's what they meant. And it's gone way too fucking far and crazy. You You're doing it by using video calls that reduce resources, save tax dollars. The problem is, it might save money. That sounds like false economy to me, because you might save money in some fashion, but are you saving money if this is having a contributing impact on the amount of approvals that the scheme gets, and you're dishing out cash money to people that don't fucking need it? Anyway. The thing is, the process, exactly, you get all these people then start applying for it because it's so straightforward. Do you know what? I wouldn't do this because it's actually potentially illegal to lie about this stuff, right? I would love to do a sort of, some journalist should do this, where they apply for it to see if they can get it, even if they don't need it. But I reckon that you could probably not need it and get it, especially with stuff like depression and stuff being able to be claimed for. Anyway, debt would move on to an unsustainable path much sooner in a scenario with this less favourable primary deficits. The OBR warned that delay in action would increase the cost of putting the public finances back on sustainable footing. Postponing actions to the 2050s would mean improving the primary balance of 8% of GDP, close to the entire health budget. Anyway, basic point, we're spending too much money. Taxes aren't high enough to cover it. And there's only so much tax that you can do before you start having negative impacts of that tax on things like growth, businesses being able to reinvest, and so on and so forth. So realistically, there's some unpopular decisions that a person needs to make. And the reality is, it's not a fucking wealth tax. Okay? It's not a fucking wealth tax. It's removing things like the triple lock on pensions. Okay? It's finding, if you want to increase taxes, it's about finding a broader base of tax. I think Labour saying they're not going to increase any income tax is stupid. And I think that's hamstrung them and handcuffed them. Because it's the broadest base that you can go after in a way that will, you know, actually garner more tax money. But to be honest with you, I don't fucking know. I don't know what the exact right tax solution is. Wealth tax is stupid. A tax on property value is probably a good idea. You've got people that are sat in fucking £1 million worth of house that are just sat there, aren't doing anything with it, aren't selling it back into the market, and they're just sat on the value, paying some pittance of council tax. Like, that's fucked. You know, there's other levers that you can put and other things that you can change. It's not just about go after the poors, right? It's not just about get rid of disability benefits. It's you need to find more effective ways to tax people that are currently outside of what tax generally is focusing on in the UK, you know? Nothing wrong with holding on to a house for your family and kids, though. But the problem is, someone can be sat in a house that's worth millions of pounds, okay? There isn't a tax for that, to look at the value of that in some way, and they pay council tax, and that is the only thing that really relates to the value of the property, but the property value is based on something that existed in 1991. So, you know, that's the issue. That's the problem, is they pay a pittance on what their property is actually worth. And the thing is, people say, well, I wouldn't be able to afford to pay that. Well, if that's the case, then sell up and move to a smaller property rather than sitting in a house you don't fucking need. You know? You already paid tax on your salary. Yes, I know. There's lots of things that get double taxed. That's fucking how it goes. You get taxed on salary and you put that in an investment beyond your ISA allowance, and then you have to pay capital gains tax when you sell the upside. Yes, stuff gets double taxed. That's how it fucking goes, bro. Dude, inheritance tax is potentially taxing money which has been taxed 2 or 3 times already. No, we don't have a property tax. We've got council tax. That's the only thing that really registers the value of the property, and it's based on the valuations that existed in 1991.
Is a consensus that the neoliberal model has broken and it's not worked.
Consensus where? From people like Gary Stevenson, or where's the consensus? Where's the academic consensus here?
I think the academic consensus is among economists who aren't working for the government. I think they're all looking at government decisions.
Gary Stevenson as a sort of pseudo-academic economist, or a...
I don't think he's pseudo-academic. I think he's literally an economist. That's his job.
What about, you mentioned... it's not his job. He's a city trader. He studied an undergraduate degree in economics.
Right.
Okay, he's not a professional economist.
He would just say, well, I've bet money on my predictions. I'm rich.
Dude, it's so funny watching these people get challenged by people that actually know what they're talking about, because they just fold.
So I'm always right. The trouble is just, obviously, nobody can verify that.
I saw some guy, I don't know his name. He was on Twitter. Skinny little dipshit.
Well, whatever your personal view of Stevenson, there's no question that many people do find him inspiring. Many of the issues he talks about clearly resonate with the everyday complaints of working people, both in the US and the UK. His rise to fame coincides with a red-hot stock market, which puts vast wealth on the ledgers of a small group of tech barons while actual wages stagnate. The economy might be growing nicely on paper, but everything seems to cost more and young people can't afford to buy a house or start a family. Well, last week, President Trump was revealed to have earned $1.4 billion from his digital currency trading business since returning to office. Everybody benefits from rising stock markets, he said in response. But do they? Well, Gary Stevenson has a new documentary out on Channel 4. It's called How to Get Filthy Rich. And among other issues, he calls for a wealth tax.
My proposal is a 2% tax on wealth of above £10 million.
Absolute populist claptrap.
People are having to make a decision on whether they eat or whether they stay warm.
Why is it only rich people who are supposed to not look out for their own interests? Is everyone else looking out for them?
Well, the idea of windfall taxes on the filthy rich is about to become a big dividing line between Republicans and Democrats in the run-up to the next election. It's previously been a preferred policy of our next Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, although reportedly he will start with a bigger inheritance tax instead. At the heart of that debate is the age-old question of whether vast wealth trickles down to everybody else. Does a rising tide lift all boats, or should we trust the government to take some money out of their bottomless pockets and spend it on everybody else? And above all, are we now living in a new era of greed is good, or, as many people are warning, are we heading towards a revolt against the revoltingly rich? Well, joining me now is the former financial trader, inequality economist Gary Stevenson. In a moment, we'll be joined by two high-profile defenders of free market capitalism. Tom Ellsworth, the PBD podcast contributor, also known as the BizDoc, and Christian Niemitz, he's the editorial director at the Institute of Economic Affairs. So welcome.
Yes, dude, they got some actual people. Yes. Oh, this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to this already, man.
Welcome to all of you. Gary, great to have you back on Uncensored. Our last interview got everybody going, and a lot of people watched it. Just in simple terms.
Trickle-down economics is like some fucking... It's lefty coke, bro. It's lefty... No, the thing is, there is an issue with ever-burgeoning wealth of like the ultra-rich. Yes, obviously there's a concern there. And trickle-down economics is used as this slight when you see some wealthy person's bought a new yacht and it's like, oh, trickle-down economics, is that what that is? But like the reality is, growth in the economy is good for working people because companies reinvest. It means there is more job. Like there is obviously benefit in companies having money and resources to reinvest. And taxing too heavily does inhibit growth and does inhibit companies from doing this, right? It's a balance. There's a balance that you need to strike. Exactly. But yes, I mean, obviously, it's more of like a sort of, oh, you bought another yacht, have you? When's that trickling down to the working people? So, you know, it's a balanced perspective where you want to have enough tax to fund good public services and whatnot, but also you don't want to tax people until the pips squeak, as they say, which leaves little to, you know, reinvest. And a great example of this is some of the negative impacts that the increase in national insurance for employers had on some UK businesses, where it did, I think, generate revenue to cover the costs they needed to cover or something, but it did have a negative impact on businesses, you know, having flexibility to maybe do certain investment, or, you know, there's one particular company I talked about recently that had to walk back some of the growth that it tried to do by putting new stores in places because they had this tax bill crop up. Part of that was the national insurance contributions increasing. So, you know, it's looking at, okay, so we can increase the tax here, okay, how do we make sure that it does what we need it to do without having significant negative benefits, you know? It's a buzzword used against you when you simply point out that the uber rich are some of the most mobile people going. You can't simply tax them to the hill. Yes, that's true.
What is the documentary about?
Documentary is a snapshot of the country, what's happening with the economy. People are struggling in many cases. I went around the country up and down talking to ordinary people who are talking about their problems, talking to some very wealthy people. We spoke to one billionaire, people who don't like my ideas about wealth taxes. Really, we're just trying to paint a picture that explains what's happening, challenges my ideas, and really puts to the country the question of what do you want to do? Because I think we're here at this crucial moment. Obviously, we all know there's about to be a new Prime Minister. And I think there is a public discussion about where do we go next. And I wanted to be part of that. And really, I want to use it to persuade the country we need to do something about the growing wealth of the very rich.
We've had some like seismic shocks as a country in the last 10 years. Brexit was one. You know, I think most people look at it and think it's certainly not been a success, to put it mildly, and was a self-inflicted injury, if you like, on our economy. The pandemic, the COVID pandemic, was a huge...
I'm waiting for a delivery and I don't want to miss it, so...
blow to global economy, obviously. And then you've got, you know, war in Ukraine, war in Iran, all these things, they all have an impact. Now, in history, these things happen and governments have to deal with it.
I've spoken about wealth taxes quite a lot, and they're just not good. Inefficient, expensive to administer, don't see much receipts, people change their behaviour to get around it, capital flights. Numerous countries that have implemented it have walked it back. Another stat I saw earlier, apparently France lost X amount of millionaires in the period that they had the wealth tax in place. You know, it's just not good policy. And any credible tax expert will tell you this. Even tax experts that believe in a strong welfare state, progressive, will say wealth tax is not really worth it. It's kind of pointless.
Deal with them. But they've been particularly big hits on the global economy generally. So the people that criticise you, I've heard them say, well, OK, but what he's saying is it's all the fault of the rich, right? If only the stinking rich, the billionaire tech guys and so on, just distributed their cash better, then all the problems would be solved. But in fact, it's been incompetent governments who've mismanaged things, made bad decisions, like Brexit and so on. You know, do you understand that argument, that in a way you singled out the baddies to be, in a way, these rich guys who've been very successful? Many of them employ thousands of people. They pay, you know, sometimes billions in tax. Why are they the bogeymen for you and not other things that could be perhaps even bigger contributors?
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is I've got nothing against rich people. You know, I'm quite a rich person myself. You know, I think most people would be rich if they could. You know, this is not about attacking rich people, but it is about trying to understand.
Most people will be rich if they could. Dude, that's the other problem with this as well. Is that, you know, and this isn't really what he's saying, but you know when you see these memes and people talk about, oh, if a wealthy person just took this money and gave it to all these different people, each person could have this much money, right? Which is stupid because often they're using it based on their wealth and you can't just, there's not liquid cash that you could do that with. But even if that was possible, even if you could give each working person in a given country £10,000, £50,000, whatever the fucking figure you want it to be is, right? The unfortunate reality is they would just spend it on fags and booze, to put it simply, right? They would just fritter it away. Because not everyone has got a growth mindset. That's just the reality of it. And that's fair enough. Some people just want to work their days, retire, have a little bit to live on, whatever, right? But some people just don't have that mentality or mindset of getting money and turning it into something more, right? And that's fine. But not everyone is built to build. You know? It's just how people are wired. It's different. And some people, you could give them all the fucking means in the world to, you know, build wealth and they just won't do it. They just won't fucking do it. And I wish I'd learnt this when I was younger. If I'd have known when I was 20, if I put away £20 or £50 a month into a high growth fund that increases by 4 to 8% each year, or whatever the fuck it would be, you know, that's the kind of shit that you want to be knowing because that's going to benefit you greatly. And most people just don't think about it, you know? So, I don't know, man. It's you know, we've got to find means to support people without living in this fantasy world that it's not just the case that some people are built with a wealth mindset and they will, you know, like this idea that, oh, well, you know, you took it all away, they got nothing. If you took the average millionaire and took away everything that they had and gave them £50,000 or £10,000 or whatever and said, right, off you go. Like the way that they, because of like the way they're wired and their mentality and knowing some of this stuff, you know, they will just work with that and then turn it into something else in the future. Exactly, they'll invest it. And you might think, what if they've got nothing? What if, I mean, obviously if they had nothing, but even if you gave them a portion of money, they would find a way to live in a means to minimize their expenditure so they could maximize the amount that they're investing. You know, that's how the mindset works. It's rather than spending shit on a bunch of fucking junk, I'm going to take as much as I can, spend as little as I can. Like, you read the stories of business people who aren't like billionaires, they're like millionaires or something like that. And they talk about, well, to set up this business, I was sleeping in a car. I was sleeping in a car or sleeping under the desk in my office because I had nowhere else to go, desperately trying to make a thing of it. And boom, I move forward, you know? Like, there's a level of discomfort that some people are willing to bear if they think they can take that opportunity and turn it into something else, you know? So it's just, there is a mindset difference, an education difference, a mentality difference that you're never going to be able to broach because people are just wired differently on these matters, you know?
And what is going wrong with our economy? You know, so I quit my job in 2014. I used to work in markets, and I didn't start speaking publicly until 2020. That's when I started my YouTube channel. That's when I made my first YouTube video. And the reason I did that is because at the beginning of COVID, we knew governments were going to give out an enormous amount of money. The UK government gave out £1 trillion. That's £20,000 per person. If you did the analysis...
That's all glamour and grind set, babe. Okay, dude. That's just you're the kind of person, this is like the leftoid broke mindset, that it's all bollocks, right? It's bollocks when Grant Cardone has got some motivational video to some sales guy, okay? Yes. But the actual mentality existing is not bollocks.
...on where that money was going to end up, you could see...
What is the fucking... Dude, if you take 5% of your monthly salary and put it into a high interest account or, you know, an investment account, right? And you do that every month from when you're 20, that money will grow exponentially over a period of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That's just how it fucking is, bro. That is just how it is, okay? And the reality is, this narrative, people can't do that. Yes, they fucking can, bro. Yes, they fucking can. I thought I had it tough when I was fucking 20, right? And what was I doing? I was going out, pissing out of the wall, wasting money here, wasting money there. A bit more frugality and a bit of investment and people could make it fucking happen. It is absolute fucking cope to act like people don't have the capability to have a more future guided mindset.
See very, very clearly from the very beginning that money would go to the richest people in society. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, right? Imagine we paused the economy now for 2 years.
Dude, honestly, one of the worst things about lefty mentality is this fetishization of poverty, this poverty mindset fucking bollocks, right? Acting like poor people are just a slave to the whims of society and they can't take steps to better themselves and better their position. They can and they fucking should, dude. They can and they should. It's, oh, dude, it's so irritating when you get these lefties that are like, oh, no, it's not bullshit. It's not fucking bullshit, bro. Get yourself a dime bag. Get yourself a fucking dime bag, okay?
During that period of time, transferred £1 trillion from the government to the richest people in society. What do you think would happen to ordinary living standards? They're going to fall, right? What drove me, the reason I started my YouTube channel, the reason I do everything that I do is because I could see at the beginning of COVID, we were going to have a cost of living crisis, an inflation crisis, a house price crisis, a stock price crisis, a gold price crisis. If you don't believe that, go and watch my video from June 2020. I predicted all of these things. If you do not do anything about rapidly growing inequality...
Wait, what was that? Is he seriously saying that his prediction was that there'd be negative consequences in June 2020 as COVID was ramping up?
If you did the analysis on where that money was going to end up, you could see very, very clearly from the very beginning that money would go to the richest people in society. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, right? Imagine we paused the economy now for 2 years and during that period of time transferred £1 trillion from the government to the richest people in society. What do you think would happen to ordinary living standards? They're going to fall, right? What drove me, the reason I started my YouTube channel, the reason I do everything that I do is because I could see at the beginning of COVID, we were going to have a cost of living crisis, an inflation crisis, a house price crisis, a stock price crisis, a gold price crisis.
Guys, a global pandemic was going to have negative financial consequences. Guys, crazy, hot take, Global pandemic could mean serious negative financial consequence. Whoa! But by the way, lots of financial people predicted this. Lots of financial people fucking invested accordingly and made a fucking bag off of recognizing that we were all going to become little fucking pod lovers, ordering off Amazon and shit.
That's crisis. If you don't believe that, go and watch my video from June 2020. I predicted all of these things. If you do not do anything about rapidly growing inequality, you will see rapidly growing poverty. That doesn't mean if you have a wealth...
But again, I would say that was, in a way, you could argue that was the incompetence of the government of the day, successive governments, in dealing with the pandemic, and it was dealt with in very different ways.
Also, the other problem, this is a very... Amazon got a shitload of money from COVID, okay? That's true. What did Amazon do? And I'm not a fucking Amazon guy, okay? I don't fucking like Amazon. Well, I love Amazon, actually. I use them all the time. But I'm not like a supporter of Amazon's, you know, God-given right to have loads of fucking money. But Amazon, because of the increased demand for their service, they reinvested some of the money and they created more jobs to facilitate the burgeoning, you know, reliance on Amazon, you know? So whilst, you know, there's certainly a question mark over wealth, accumulation of super wealthy, whatever the fuck, this narrative that, oh, these companies just got loads of money and stuffed it into they just got all this money and stuffed it into a big Scrooge McDuck-like vault. That's not exactly true. There was reinvestment that created more jobs, more opportunities for people to work.
By countries around the world.
More jobs equals use your own car to deliver our packages. What's the problem with that exactly? Oh my God, bro. First of all, that's not necessarily true. I see loads of fucking Amazon vans driving around, okay? But second of all, if that works for you, then that works for you, doesn't it? Are you seriously trying to suggest that there's this problem with people driving their own cars and they're fucking themselves over and they don't realise it? I feel like there's, again, that's just this kind of like anti-Amazon retard narrative, right? When I think, well, if you're driving your own vehicle, maybe there's some downsides you need to consider, but there's going to be upsides to that people are going to want to take advantage of in order to be able to do that in the first place, no? It's like someone driving for Uber. Well, I'm sure Uber can be a bit of a thankless task at times, but if you're willing to apply yourself, it's probably quite a fruitful exercise in making some money, right? I wouldn't want to do it. Too many fucking browns you bump into in the local KFC. But, you know, it just feels like a narrative that is based on your personal feelings about something rather than what the actual reality is for someone that decides to become an Amazon driver. You know?
And some did a lot better than others. And people think that the lockdowns and, you know, various things contributed to the fact that we screwed ourselves to a certain degree. So, you know, my question again would be, of course, if you dished out $1 trillion to very wealthy people, that would impact negatively on everybody else. Conversely, if you just took $1 trillion from wealthy people and gave it out to a lot of people with no money, your belief is that would lead to a more equal playing field, whatever. But a lot of people think that wouldn't happen.
That's not what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I'm not trying to take money from the rich and give it to the poor. Listen, 30 years ago...
You're not Robin Hood.
Listen, 30 years ago, we had a situation where ordinary people like my dad, could work a regular job, 20 grand a year, buy a house.
What did he do, your dad?
He worked for the post office for 35 years. And we had a government that owned a huge amount of wealth, plus 100% of GDP. In the last 40 years, that ability for working class people to own assets has disappeared, and the government wealth has dropped from plus 100% of GDP to negative 100% of GDP. I am not trying to redistribute wealth. The redistribution of wealth is happening. 40 years ago, the working class owned wealth, the middle class owned wealth, and the government's owned wealth. Government is bankrupt, working class is bankrupt, middle class people struggling to own homes. That wealth is not disappearing. It is accumulating by the very rich. I am not trying to redistribute wealth here. The reason I care about wealth inequality is because I want ordinary people to be able to afford to own wealth. It's as simple as that.
OK, let's bring in our other guests. Christian Niemitz, welcome to Uncensored. What's your reaction to what Gary just said?
Well, we've had 18 years of almost complete economic stagnation. Most people are not much better off than they were in 2007. And so it's not surprising that lots of people, different parts of the ideological political spectrum, are thinking about why is that? Why did that happen? So therefore, we agree on part of the diagnosis. Something needs to change. Something isn't quite right. I don't buy Gary's explanation for it. I don't buy that wealth inequality is the issue, for the simple reason that wealth inequality is not particularly high in this country, and it's not rising. So if you look at the top 1% of the wealth...
Yeah, that's the other thing, because I don't, you know, wealth inequality figures, I've seen people posting graphs, and some of the people are like, you actually know what you're talking about, you're some rightoid fucking whatever. But I don't know if wealth inequality in this country is as big a deal as Gary makes it out to be. So this guy seems to be saying something that sounds good, but I don't really fucking know. I don't really fucking know, dude. I think Flip Flop shared an article yesterday that I think was talking about disparity between young people and old people, which is rooted in policies that are way too favourable towards coffin dodgers. That's a potential issue. Home ownership is a problem, you know? But this idea that it's 150 billionaires in the UK that are causing this problem and not the coffin dodgers sitting in houses they don't really need.
Distribution. The wealthiest 1% in the country, they hold about 22% of the total wealth. And that figure has been almost completely flat for more than 20 years. It is now actually lower than it was for most of recorded history. It's lower now than it was throughout most of the 20th century. And it's far lower than it is in most other developed countries. That is really not the issue. It's actually something much more simple than that. The reason why the economy doesn't grow and the reason why real wages for most people don't grow is that we're not building anything. We've got the lowest level of housing supply in the developed world. We just need to build some houses like everybody else. It's as simple as that. And then you could, again, have a situation like what you've described with your father being able to afford a house on a normal salary. Yes, that was once the norm, and it should be the norm again.
That is true.
It is still the
From
norm.
what I understand, you know, we've got a crazy, terrible issue with housing supply in the UK. And people, you know, that Green Party woman got shit on because she looked like a retard when she's trying to act like immigrants don't increase demand, when obviously they do just increase demand, is how it is. But it's to do, from what I can understand, it's to do with like, there's basically areas in the UK that you're not allowed to build on, like green belt areas, and there's like, what is it, brown belt or yellow belt, I can't fucking remember. And you think that a green belt is some luscious park, right? It's some beautiful, luscious park. And you can't ban on there because you'd be destroying some lovely park. When you actually look at some of these areas and the way it's been done, it's actually not actually like that necessarily. And there's some places that you look at and you think, just build a house there. It's some shitter ex-factory area or some shit. And it turns out it's green belt and there's legal grounds that you can't build on there. You know, I know that's like a problem. There's like a little patch of grass like that and the rest of it looks like shit, but it's classified as greenbelt or some shit. So there's problems with, you know, zoning of these areas. There's other, I don't know all the ins and outs of obviously the fucking housing issue, but yes, I think this guy is correct in that we do have a housing supply issue. We do need to build more houses, and there are things that are like holding it back.
In quite a lot of places. It's just, you know, when you have 40 years of abnormally low growth in the housing stock, then you are going to see problems like that. We need to do what governments of all shades, Labour, Tory, Lib Dem coalitions, what they've all said. They've all said we want to build. We need to increase the housing stock. It's just that every time you then have some NIMBYs complaining, saying no, not here and not there either, then governments panic and roll back and don't do anything. We really just need to override NIMBY objections and build some houses. It's as simple as that. Build houses, build infrastructure, do the usual thing that make economies grow.
Tom Ellsworth, welcome to Uncensored. You've been nodding away there, so you agree with what Christian's saying?
Yes, and we've seen that in the United States. If you take a look at the boomer generation, a significant amount of the boomers' wealth is their home. And yes, they've got 401ks, and if they were fortunate, had a pension or had an IRA that they built. But what they most have is the value of their home. And what we need is the affordable housing in this country. And that's what's going to correct it. It's not to put a microscope on the entrepreneurial set, many of whom have built billion-dollar fortunes on success, building jobs, building products, and biotech, medicine, and technology that we all enjoy, and it's improved our life. I don't think it's the focus on that. The focus here is there is an affordability crisis. There's things that have to happen, and we have to improve it. But like when we had steroids in baseball, we didn't throw away baseball. We got rid of the steroids and brought a grand game back. And I think smart people can do the same thing here. Capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty over time than any other system. So let's figure out how to correct it. You have functions that we look at, and I'll give you two examples. There was just a report that came out of the Fed that pointed out that the 7 million immigrants between 2021 and 2024, and by the way, that's the Fed number. There are larger numbers bandied about in the media. I'm sure you've seen them. They came in and they took housing, and so it increased the demand for housing, which caused the price for the housing to go up. So the challenge that you have there is that you've got a whole set of people that were looking for housing, and rents were up and the price of houses were up. The other part of the report was that the financial policy, which was the government making a mistake, exactly what you commented, Piers.
Well, obviously he's talking about America because you need some key jangling for the Yankoids because they don't give a fuck about British economic housing policy.
The government made a horrible mistake and created runaway inflation under Biden, and that increased the price of assets. Gary, who describes himself as an economist, certainly understands that what happened was the asset costs themselves, values, were inflated by that. So now you have those two things. If we look at Austin, Texas, we can see how if you leave the system alone, it can correct. You had in Austin...
See, the thing is, this guy's probably spitting a lot of facts about how economic reality works under capitalism. But Gary's probably just going to do, but you don't understand, there's people that can't turn the heating on, we got to tax the rich.
Announcements were coming from Oracle and HP and others in 2019, 2020, that they were going to move away from California because they were upset about, taxation and regulation, and they were going to move to Texas. Well, guess what? In the Austin, Texas area, builders saw that as opportunity and started building and extending the housing supply in Austin. There was a price spike during COVID, but as the building continued and the supply came on the market, prices today are down 15 to 20% in Austin from their high. And they still say there's an estimated 15,000 housing unit shortage in Austin. So in other words, you see, if you leave the system, it can go there. Now, we need government not to do what Biden did and not to do what the inflation did. But
I muted this segment because I thought there was going to be Gary's economics abuse. There is not enough side left to go back to gaming. Well, I mean, we're just waiting. This only just started. Just give it time.
I don't want to just tax the wealthy and then hand it to the government, whereas we've seen in Minnesota's learning centers and in California's hospices, fraud gets created. I don't want to just give that to the government that I already don't trust to do good things with money and then trust them to bring it back to the people that need it. No, I think if we get out of the way with regulation and move things more clearly, I think you get it. And that's what I agree with, and that's why I was nodding.
Okay, Gary, your response.
I mean, I wish getting out of the way worked. We've been getting out of the way in this country for a long, long time. And we've moved from a situation where ordinary working people can afford housing, pension, education, healthcare, to a situation where half the country can't simultaneously feed the kids and turn the light on.
Dude, bro, I literally called it, bro. I literally fucking called it, dude. I literally fucking called it, I knew it, bro. I fucking knew it. No substance, just, they can't turn the bloody heating on.
Listen, I've been betting on this for years and years and years and years and years. And I've made millions of pounds as a trader. I've made millions of pounds since I've quit, betting on what's going to happen. Listen, we can see that the wealth is being transferred. You know, ordinary people used to be able to afford homes. Governments used to own wealth. That wealth is gone now.
Do you notice? It's just a repeat of the same rhetoric, the same shit, no engaging with the substance, An endless looping back to the emotional fucking nonsense. Dude, this guy's such a grifter.
You cannot run your wealth down forever. Now that is gone, there is only 3 choices. 3 choices for every government in the world. 3 choices for the British government, 3 choices for the American government. Significantly increased taxation on the very rich, significantly increased taxation on working people, or dismantling of the welfare state. I guarantee you, I absolutely guarantee you, we are going to see some combination of those 3 things. And I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to raise taxes and give it to the government. The reason this says tax wealth not work is because working people are paying 50% while billionaires are paying nothing. If you don't change
Gary,
that,
where is
well, but it's not true that billionaires pay nothing. And also, working people pay 50%. It's so dishonest because he acts like working people pay 50%. Like he's talking about matey boy on 30k, which is obviously a fucking nonsense, right? It's dude, oh my God. A lot of the stuff, when you actually dig into the detail, actually is more focused on the upper echelons of working people. But he acts like working people means Bazza that works down the local factory on 30k per annum.
Your philosophy worked around the world?
In this country right here, Piers, in this country right here, in this country and in the US, in the 30, 40 years after World War II, the golden age of capitalism, we were taxing the wealth at 90%. We were taxing the Beatles 95%, yeah? 19 for you and 1 for me. Listen, we did it, and that was
But
the
that
period.
drove many people to leave the country.
And it drove ordinary people to be able to buy housing.
Right, but if you drive all the wealth creators out of the country, how is that good for a country?
Tax wealth not work. I'm not trying to tax anybody.
No, but there was a massive migration of wealth.
So, rich people could leave the country. Tax wealth not work. You just got to tax the rich. Dude, this guy is such a grifter, bro. How do people believe this? It's so obnoxious.
Wealthy people, when taxes went to 95%, they all just buggered off. How does that help the country?
Listen, I'm not talking about taxing work here. I'm talking about taxing asset hoarding. Listen.
No, but when I asked you to cite a time or place this has worked, you chose a period when we taxed people at 95%.
So you don't think it was a good economy in the US?
Well, I just don't think you can, with a straight face, say you're not about taxing the rich when you look back to the golden period in your eyes as being when we tax the rich 95% of their income.
No, I think we should tax the super rich at much, much higher rates.
What would you tax them at? 95%?
At the moment, all right, what's the average passive income of a billionaire?
So that again?
What's the average passive income as a percentage rate of a billionaire?
You tell me.
So I interviewed a billionaire for my documentary, Bassem Haydar. He says he doesn't take less than 15%.
Dude, what's the average? I mean, I don't think that's a figure you can track because it's going to be massively variable, right? But even if there was a way of tracking that, notice the dishonesty there. He goes from what's the average to talking about one guy to one guy that he spoke to. How do people fall for this, bro? It's so obviously bullshit. 15% is also probably at the upper echelons. And, I don't know what the average is or what the normal person is. But, I don't... It's just focusing on one example because it favours his case.
So if you're the poorest billionaire in the US and you've got a wealth of $1 billion, at 15%, you are going to be making $150 million a year.
And then he just broadens it out to every billionaire to make his point.
$3 million a week, right? If we don't do it, and these guys at the moment are untaxed. They're paying
why shouldn't they make that kind of money?
Because if you allow them to make that kind of money and you do not tax it, then over time they will buy more and more.
And also, when you say passive income, what does that mean exactly? Because passive income, like dividends or savings, interest, like there likely is some tax that you'd be paying anyway. Yeah, but passive income comes from somewhere, and when you draw down income in some way, there's some tax you normally have to pay on it. You either pay yourself a salary, and that's taxed at income tax rate. Normally, tax efficient is to pay yourself dividends, but that's taxed as well. So, what is passive income? What does he mean by that? Because for example, in the UK, if you have a massive fuck-off savings account, and you just live off the passive savings money, you pay tax on the savings money that you make as well. So even if it's just literally sat in a savings account in the UK, you have to pay tax on that too. So what does he mean? What is this untaxed passive income that people have got access to? The only thing I can think of is the way that mega wealthy people, I don't know too much about this, man. This is fucking economist shit. But there's ways you can leverage debt against your assets so that you, on your balance sheet, don't show as in profit or something, and you don't pay tax, but you have cash to play with. I don't fucking know, dude. There's some fancy tricks you can do if you're mega wealthy. So maybe something to do with that. But I don't know what this passive income that is untaxed is he's talking about.
More of the assets, and
Exactly, it's
assets
not
such as
passive, is
housing
it?
will become unaffordable to ordinary people. Listen, you cannot simultaneously have an untaxed billionaire class and an asset holding.
Owning a rental is considered passive income. Okay, but that's the point, isn't it? If you own a rental, right? You can't just take the money out without being taxed on it, right? Because even if you, I mean, well, first of all, owning a rental is not necessarily passive income. It depends on whether or not you pay an agent to manage it for you. But even money that you make off of a rental, if you try to draw down on the income that you're making, there's some tax you'd have to pay somewhere, right? Because you can't just draw money out of rental income without you having to pay tax somewhere. I don't know what he's on about. Even with tax efficient schemes, you still have to pay tax on dividends or shit like that if you're drawing money that way.
Holding middle class. You must choose.
Okay, Christian, I mean, look, there'll be a lot of people watching this in America and the UK who'll be nodding along going, yeah, you know, why should super billionaires not just pay a bigger slice of the pie and help out those less fortunate?
Well, but they are. I mean, not specifically on asset ownership. Right now, we don't have a wealth tax. We don't have a tax that meets the textbook definition of a wealth tax. But of course, we tax the wealthy in lots of different ways. And these 90% rates that you mentioned, nobody actually paid those. That was a headline rate with lots of deductions and ways around it. And the total tax take in the 1950s and 60s was far lower than it is today. We are now at historic peacetime highs. We have a historically high, abnormally high level of taxation and government spending right now. It's gone up even in the last 6 years compared to just before the pandemic. We now have government spending of 45% of GDP, up from about 40%. Where, again, you have to ask, where do we see the improvement? Where are the public services that have improved? Taxes are already abnormally high. And when it comes to, okay, this is mostly income and consumption.
You know, this is another thing that Gary does. This is another little grifty thing he does. He writes notes down to make him seem like he's listening or taking in what they're saying. And then he just reverts back to his normal fucking platitudes.
But we also have taxes on assets. We have capital gains tax, we have inheritance tax, we have transfer taxes, so stamp duty on share ownership transfer. None of those are technically wealth taxes, but we have lots of, say, roundabout ways of taxing wealth. And actually, Britain already raises more from these taxes than other economies in the OECD, including actually countries that have a technical wealth tax. So Switzerland has one. They raise about 1% of GDP from their wealth tax. But they have in other ways, they have a tax system that is much lighter on either the income rich or the asset rich. So if we could import the Swiss system wholesale with the
that's the other thing that people do is they point to these other countries that got a wealth tax. But often they've rejigged other aspects of their system, or their system works differently to facilitate the wealth tax working. So the idea is that you can layer a wealth tax on top of how the current UK system works. But there needs to be some alleviation somewhere else, if you even wanted to do that.
Wealth tax, then yes, I would take that as a package deal, but not the wealth tax in isolation. In isolation, that's a terrible idea. I mean, wealth taxes, that's the thing about them. They have been tried many, many times before. This is not a remotely new idea. Until the early 90s, half of Western Europe had wealth taxes. I grew up in a country that had a wealth tax at the time. There are good reasons why they were abolished. The reason is simply that they are complete bureaucratic nightmares. You barely raise any money once you subtract the bureaucracy cost, the cost of simply valuing all the assets. That alone, that swallows up, that requires such a massive bureaucracy. And even a lot of supporters of wealth taxes concede that point. And that's why, so even Gabriel Zucman, the economist, I think you had him on your channel, he is the guru of wealth taxation. Even he concedes that point. Even he said, wealth taxes so far have been a failure. We are in complete agreement on this. The only point on which I differ from his views is that he thinks it's going to work next time. He says he thinks, well, we just have to tweak it a little bit. Real wealth taxes have never been tried. Next time it will be great. Whereas I'm saying, what we've seen, that's as good as it gets.
Tom, you know, it's interesting. In New York, I go there a lot, and you've got Mayor Zoran Mandani, who, you know, crashed into power and took everyone by surprise and has carried on surprising people. A lot of people are liking what they hear from him. This was his 250th birthday message to the United States that went viral at the weekend.
As we mark 250 years, what do we see? We see a city of contradictions within a nation of contradictions. We see the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
Okay, this is a massive oral loss from Mamdani. Literally just got the fucking fattest, ugliest looking immigrants you could possibly muster to stand by you.
One where children go to sleep hungry, while the world's first trillionaire hungers for more. We see monopolies that dominate every industry and oligarchs who buy elections. We see masked agents terrorizing our streets, eating food cooked by our undocumented neighbors before spiriting them away in unmarked vans.
By the way, you might think he's just doing some sort of, you know, oh, but what about the food? That actually happened, by the way. That actually did happen. Apparently some ICE agents ate in a Mexican restaurant and they came back later to deport the illegals that were in there.
See a nation whose immense wealth has been built by those with calloused, dirt-streaked hands, those who toil on factory floors and chisel into stone. And we see a nation that has allowed so much of that wealth to be held instead in the soft hands of a precious few.
I mean, Tom, you know, it could be American version of Gary there.
No, very much so. And as a matter of fact, there are some contradictions in there. He was pointed out on social media that he was actually sitting at the desk backwards. Apparently, that's George Washington's desk, one of the artifacts of the early Capitol in New York. And he was actually sitting there backwards. He later came out and said, oh, no, that was supposed to be symbolic. Well, we're not buying.
Oh, right, okay, because the drawers should be facing the other way. Is that right? I see. No, I think it was symbolic. No, I think that is symbolic. Our country's backwards. Because, I mean, it's obvious on the shot. If it wasn't meant to be the case, you'd be like, hang on a sec, the drawers are the wrong way around. I do think that's the point. No, I don't think that's a fuck up.
Backwards. He later came out and said, oh, no, that was supposed to be symbolic. Well, we're not buying it. Just like people are not buying the rest of the story. Down here in Florida, we are seeing people move from New York. And I'm not talking about billionaires. I'm not talking about Citadel. I'm talking about people that are coming down here that are saying what's about to happen to my home and the property tax in New York. And a gentleman that said, I was a plumber. I had 3 units that I was renting in Jamaica. And then I had a house that I'd stayed in so many years in Astoria. I have found out with the rent controls and things you're going to have, I have to get out now because we're all assuming that the property values are going to go down because of the rental environment that Mandami's going to create. Well, that may make it nice for people to find cheap housing, but what will the quality of that housing be? And those very people, regular middle-class people looking for retirement that are prematurely selling their real estate and coming down to Florida. Well, I've seen it with...
Even Louis Rossmann moved and he's a mega liberal. Did he actually? What, Louis Rossmann moved out of New York because of Mamdani's proposals? Is that true? Or are you just saying that?
With my own eyes. And in terms of wealth tax, Christian, I'll tell you something that just broke over the weekend. Ro Khanna, who Pierce, I know...
I moved 5 years ago. Well, what the fuck has that got to do with Mamdani? Okay, dude.
You know him, politician from California, proponent of the wealth tax that's on the ballot coming in November. Over the weekend, he said, it's not billionaires. I'm taking it all the way down to 50 million. This is exactly what people said, that as soon as you give the government a knob, they're going to turn it, and they're going to turn it against the middle class. $50 million, they haven't even got to the election yet, and it's already $50 million. The good news, they're taxing the rich. The bad news, tomorrow, you're rich.
Sorry, man. I get why Piers has done this, because Americans are fucking morons, but it's so obnoxious having to listen about fucking New York when this is about Gary Stevenson's wealth tax in the UK. Fuck off, man.
Right, that's an interesting question, Gary, because what is your idea of rich? I mean, let me be blunt. How much are you worth, for example?
I haven't got a spreadsheet, but I'm not a billionaire.
You know what you're worth.
I don't know what I'm worth. Listen, I'm a millionaire. I'm a multi-millionaire.
You know what? Presumably you know what taxes you pay and what income that's based on. Then.
That's a question for my accountant, to be honest.
Are you shy about revealing your?
I don't have to work again. I can go to Nando's whenever I want.
Okay, let me give you a ball. Are you 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million?
Oh, how much are you worth?
Well, you go first.
No, you're asking the question. You go first.
Because you're the one who's written the whole book
tell me,
about.
how much are you worth? Piers?
You've written a whole book about wealth taxes. I'm not. That's not my.
Listen, Piers, that's a personal question. How much are you worth?
But no, I'm asking you.
Piers, how much are you worth?
When you have your own show, you can get me on.
Wait, does Gary have a Patreon? No, he fucking doesn't. What? Gary Stevenson's got a Patreon. Oh, please link that.
Ask me.
Well, listen, I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Why are you uncomfortable about just saying what it is?
Because that's a personal question, mate. Listen, I'm a millionaire.
You're writing a whole book in which you want people like me to pay more tax. Fine.
So you're worth more than 10, are you?
More than?
We're all worth more than 10, are you?
More than?
10 million quid.
Well, I won't go into the details, but I certainly
so why should I then?
I certainly think you are aiming people like me in your turrets. So I don't think it's an unreasonable question, given that you're the one that wants to make people like me pay more tax, which is fine. I've got no problem with you wanting to do that. But it's interesting to me that you're a little bit diffident about where you place yourself in the wealth.
Because, Piers, listen, I'll be honest, Piers, I'm sick of this. I'm tired. I come out every day. I bet on the collapse of our society. I'm right every year. I don't want it.
Wait, what? This is mental. Oh, he's got a Patreon. What does he need that? What does he need that for? Fucking hell, bro. Wait, is he hidden how much... Dude, has he hidden how much he gets? Oh my god, man! You can't even see how much he gets. What? The lowest tier is $9 a month? Oh my god, bro. Dude, this guy's such a fucking grifter, man. All tiers are equal. You're making this channel possible, helping us bring real economics education to millions of people in the UK. Economics education, okay, dude. You'll help steer the movement. This is classic lefty grifting shit, man. Support my Patreon to bring about the socialist revolution. That is outrageous, man. And then all tiers are equal as well. I've got one tier, $1 a month. Pay what you want. That's it. There aren't any fucking tiers on there. This is outrageous, man. So this guy's independently wealthy, but he's still got a Patreon. What happens with that money, exactly? 2K paid members. I mean, how much is that? What's the, is it Graphion? Is that how we can check?
I want it to collapse. And every day it's the fucking Gary Stevenson show. I'm bored of it.
You literally do the Gary Stevenson show, don't you?
And the Gary Stevenson show is about
And you've done a documentary
education.
which you want to hammer rich people and make them pay more tax.
Listen, it's about economics education. Listen, the public
Which again, I've no problem with you wanting to do that.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit contradictory that you're so reluctant to tell us at least what your personal wealth.
If your house is on fire and the fireman comes, do you ask him how much he's worth?
Well, there's no parallel, is there?
No, there is, because that's what I am. Listen, I'm the best inequality economist in this country, and I'm telling you.
Well, is the firefighter advocating for a wealth tax? I mean, what the fuck, dude? If a firefighter showed up and started advocating for a wealth tax, I might have some economic questions for him, yes. Wow, interesting. Look at this. Can't see what his earnings are. Wow. That's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting. God, he's such a grifter. He'll just gobble it up, man.
You very clearly, if you do not fix this, poverty will explode. And listen, it's up
when
to the
you
British
say
public.
that, okay, look, when you say that, and there are people that agree with you, but interestingly to me, people on the left have criticised you. So
19K.
Professor Richard Murphy, political economist and founder of the Tax Justice Network, said on his website, let's be clear about this, the wealth tax that Gary seeks to promote is not going to happen because he has no idea how it can happen, and there's no one who can explain how it might work to him or for him. As a consequence, however much noise he might make, people are wasting their time supporting his cause and the other organisations promoting this idea. So he's not on the right, he's on the left, this guy. So you've had criticism like that from both sides. So Rory Stewart called you out as a pseudo-economist.
Yeah.
You said his comments were scandalous and did eventually get an apology.
Yeah.
But you know, these allegations come at you. To me, it would be a really interesting exercise to just say to people, I'm worth this, and I think I should pay this amount of tax. I'd find that quite powerful if you did that. But when you look a little bit shifty about it, I'm like, well, hang on. You are branding yourself the great economist of our time.
Yeah.
Your whole premise is taking money from wealthy people and redistributing it. Fine. But why not just be candid about your own wealth status?
Because I'm tired, Piers.
Well, you might be tired, but you should just get more sleep.
Dude, this guy is such a hack, man. Oh my God. Why do people like this guy? It's so annoying. I saw a post earlier of some fucking lefty that was like, God, this guy's so fucking potent in what he says. And it's like, what are you on about? He's a fucking grifter.
I'm tired. I was up all night watching England.
Well done. I come out every day and I campaign for greater taxation of the richest people in the world. And I get attacked by the richest and most powerful people in the world. And if I'm totally honest, Piers, if I'm totally honest, Piers,
I'm not attacking you.
If I'm totally honest, Piers, it's scary. It's scary being me. And it's scary being attacked by the biggest newspapers and the richest people in the world. And I don't want them to know where I live. And I don't want them to know how much I'm worth. And I don't want them to know what tax I pay. I don't want them to know my mum's maiden name. I don't want to know where my mum lives.
Yeah, but I think, if you don't mind me saying, look, I used to...
Bro, so dishonest. Oh, I'm not going to tell you where my mum lives. He's not fucking asking that. Oh, God, dude. Chud, did you know he predicted the Iran war because, you know, the rich get richer and, you know, they want to get richer and all that. So he actually predicted it despite not ever predicting it anywhere.
To run, obviously, a daily newspaper.
Yeah.
If you're going to put yourself up there on the parapet as the great economist of our time, with all the solutions, and the main solution is taking money from wealthy people, obviously they're going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
But also they're going to want to know, well, how does this work? What's motivating you? How rich are you?
They're coming after you. I'm just in the way. Subscribe to my Patreon and buy some stickers.
Yeah.
How much more are you going to pay? And all these kind of things. I don't think they're unreasonable questions. I don't think it's like an attack. It's more like, well, come on. You're the guy that wants to be the knight in shining armour. So come on.
Piers, I don't want to be on the parapet. I wish I didn't have to be on the parapet.
But you put yourself on the parapet.
Yeah, listen,
dude, that Patreon thing, if it wasn't obvious already, he just wants a YouTube channel where he can get some clout, pocket 20k plus a month, and spout his fucking shit. He's got no substance, no willingness to actually engage. It's so obvious, bro, but people just don't see it.
What did I do before I was on the parapet? I was at university.
You do books, you do a YouTube show.
And where was I before that? Where was
I can't think of a bigger parapet in the world of economics.
Where was I before that, Piers?
Well, you were in the world of making money.
No, I was at university. I was 2 years at Oxford studying inequality. And what I want to be, to be honest, is in a library with smart people figuring out how to build a wealth tax.
But nobody's forcing you to do high-profile stuff.
No, nobody. I'll tell you, nobody is. Nobody is.
No.
But if I was in the university...
So why are you complaining about it?
No, I'm not complaining about it. Listen, if I was in the university...
You're playing a little bit like you want the old violin out. Woe is me.
Piers,
my life is tough. Everyone's criticising me. To which I'm like, if you're going to come out with quite dramatic economic policy and you believe fundamentally this is the solution, you've got to be prepared to...
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. An inequality economist. Is that like a sort of strand of economics that I'm not familiar with? Or how does that even work? What does that even mean? Especially when your proposal is wealth tax 2% on all assets over 10 million or whatever, which without any substance. Where's the white paper or whatever the fuck these people write about this shit, you know?
Take criticism for it.
I know, and I'll take a lot of criticism for it. But listen, I don't do this for me. I don't do this for you. Listen, I know that if we don't deal with growing inequality, then ordinary British people will fall into further and further desperate poverty. And I know that's going to happen. And I see it happening. And they see it happening. I don't want it to happen. I come out here. I tell them, if you don't want your kids to be poor, you need to deal with this growing inequality. The only way to deal with that is growing taxation. And you want to know how much I'm worth, you know what I mean? You want to know who my girlfriend is, you know? Listen,
I don't know who your girlfriend is.
I don't really
Unless
care.
It's Kim Kardashian.
I'll be honest, listen,
but...
I'm quitting it. Yeah, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the Gary Stevenson show. I don't want it anymore. What I want is for this country not to fall into poverty. I've told my piece. If you want to understand what I think about the economy, go watch my YouTube. There's 200 videos there explaining in great detail.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon on the way out.
For the economy.
But you know a lot of economists. We've got two of them here, right?
Yeah.
They think a lot of what you're saying is is bullshit.
Yeah, and Christian Nimitz is paid by billionaires to argue. Oh, who funds you? Who funds your think tank?
Well, I mean, you can look at the website. The people who don't mind their name in the public domain, we publish them. But many don't. Many don't. Because they don't want just the oil and Extinction Rebellion showing up at your doorstep. For the same reason that you said you don't want details about you in the public domain because you have opponents. The same is true of
all right. So Christian is not denying.
Oh, dude, he just raped him with his own point. That's so based. He just raped him with his own point. Let's go.
Or confirming whether he is paid for by billionaires. I'm not being paid for this. I turn up for free. Listen, if I was doing this for money...
But you make money
If I
from
was
it.
doing this for money, there'd be another book, wouldn't there, Piers? You know that. My book was the #1 best-selling non-fiction book in the country last year. I could get paid a lot of money to write another book. Instead, I'm on here having you ask me about my financial situation.
Dude. The grift is... I could be writing another book, but I'm here instead. You're making 20k plus off Patreon, you fucking liar. You disgusting fucking liar. Dude, what a wretched piece of shit this guy is. Acting like I could be doing a book. No, what you've realised is that's a fool's errand, and instead you can set up a Patreon and make 20k doing this shit. And plus whatever AdSense he's getting off YouTube as well. Oh, he's so obnoxious, man.
I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here, Piers.
Well, no one's forcing you.
No, no one's forcing me, but I do it for the people of this country because I don't want them to fall into poverty.
Yes, but my point to you, Gary, would be you're coming out with very controversial ideas which many people in the world of economics think are simply unworkable. And that's on the left and right.
And many people think that they are workable. Have Gabriel Zuckman on.
He said the Patreon he started in 2024 was for staff costs. Okay, dude. 20k a month. What fucking dude? What are you paying them for, bro? Dude, what?
Listen, I'm the biggest public
What staff do you need for that kind of content?
For this. I work incredibly hard to make people aware of this. I am not the guy...
Why are you so defensive, though?
Because you're asking me very personal questions in a public channel.
You write a book about taking money off the rich. I said, how rich are you?
All right, so if it's not personal,
like route one question.
If it's not personal, Piers, if you tell me how much you're worth, I will tell you how much I'm worth.
But I'm not the one who's coming out with all these policies wanting to tax.
He's sacrificing himself, earning absurd amounts of money and having tons of lefty fans that love him for the cause of the poor.
You think it's not a personal question?
I don't care.
So tell me then.
No, I'm asking you. I'm the interviewer.
Listen, I'm tired of this.
You don't have to answer, but I do find
it's a personal question.
overly defensive.
Piers, have you read my book? Have you read my book?
Huh?
Have you read my book?
I read some of your book, yeah.
So it's in there exactly how much I've earned. It's all in there.
So why not just say it?
Because I'm tired of the Gary Stevenson gossip show. Honestly, Piers, I wish I could come on here and we could have a sensible, intelligent conversation about economics.
We are.
So what is my wealth got to do with the global economy, Piers?
I just think it's quite interesting that somebody... I actually think it's more interesting you don't want to say it than it would be if you did.
No, look,
if you said to me, after all your stuff, trading and books, if you said I'm worth 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, I'd be like, yeah,
listen,
sure
Piers,
you are.
I'm getting older. I'm getting older. I'm tired.
It's the overly defensive body language and
Piers,
I'm going to quit if you keep asking me these nasty questions.
I'm going to quit because I'm tired.
What's making you like that? Why not just own it?
Because I'm tired, Piers. I'm tired of coming out and watching the world burn every single year and betting on it and make money on it. You know, I'm saying my piece. I'm educating the public. I've got a YouTube there. I've made a documentary. Go and watch it. I would like for you to watch it. I would like for you to watch it. I would like...
He's never got any substance or anything, right? He just... Dude, he is going to go down as one of the absolute top-tier grifters of this, like, economic, political generation, man. He never has anything.
Like the public to understand why they're getting poorer and then do something about it.
Yeah, but Christian, you summarised Gary's stance as I bet money on my predictions, I'm rich, therefore I'm always right. And you're an egghead economist with an Economic 101 textbook. You said that about Gary. So is that how you view what's going on here?
Well, yeah, it's completely superficial analysis spammed over and over again. And this is what I was getting at earlier that the lefty's not understanding, right? Because I'm not a fucking economist. Right? The reason I looked into the wealth tax was because I was so mad at this guy getting all this praise and it just didn't seem right. Something seemed off about the whole thing and I thought, this seems like bollocks. So I went and looked into the wealth tax and found out all this shit about it and was like, fucking hell, this is actually a totally bullshit policy, right? But lefties love it because they just want to hear simplistic platitudes like tax the rich. And they don't even know, they don't even understand how the fucking tax system works. I'm telling you, these people that love this guy do not understand how the tax system works. They don't fucking get it. They know nothing about it. They know nothing about it. It's just soothing. It's soothing to think that a billionaire has got a big pot of money, like Scrooge McDuck, that he swims in every night, and he's just holding it back from you. And if we could just get in there, get to the billionaire's goodies, we could dish it out to everyone and everything's fair. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this shit fucking works.
Well, that is a line of defense that you always use. You're saying you're betting on particular economic outcomes and make money in that way. Nobody can verify that. And that's easy to say. And then...
Well, watch my YouTube predictions. They're there. You can go and watch June 2020, my first YouTube video. I predicted the cost of living crisis, the inflation crisis,
yes,
the house price
so
crisis,
did an
the
IEA
stock price
publication
crisis,
at the time.
the gold prices.
That doesn't mean that you're right about the mechanism. You haven't shown that inequality is the reason for that. So, of course, if you had bet on poor economic outcomes for the last 18 years, you would have been right most of the time. But that doesn't mean that you're right for the right reason. It would be a bit like, say, somebody betting on a Brexit
I'm right
outcome.
on all of the specifics. House prices, austerity, gold price, stock price, inflation crisis. It's a lot of
we have an asset deflation right now. Wealth has gone up or gone down by a fifth.
I mean, none of that would have been that difficult to predict with a pandemic, would it?
Well, I made an awful lot of money predicting it, just like I did in 2011.
Yeah.
Listen, it's very easy.
So did loads of people. Loads of people saw the writing on the wall. And bro, the amount of fucking people that invested in like Amazon, Microsoft, you know, all these companies that were moving towards digital tools to help people in the inevitable fucking lockdowns people were talking about, right? Loads of people made money off of it because they thought, oh, this pandemic's probably going to mean da-da-da-da. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And loads of people made money. PPEs and all, yeah, dude, loads of fucking shit. And he's acting like he's smart for figuring it out. Wow, a looming global pandemic might have some negative consequences, and tech companies that focus their affairs on online matters are going to boom. Whoa!
To be honest, I really miss the trading floor. I miss the space where I can come on and debate people like you, and you say, yeah, you're right for the wrong reasons. And I say, well, let's bet on the future then. Do you think like living standards are going to improve in this country?
Marginally, yes. Like they have over the past 18
well, you're
years.
going to be wrong, do you?
The living standards will improve. I think it depends entirely on government policy.
What policies are important?
I would immediately call a referendum and take us back into the European Union.
OK, so that's not going to happen.
Why can't it happen?
Well, you think it will happen?
No, why can't it happen?
No, I'm not saying it can't.
You asked me what I would do.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the single most self-destructive things that any government has done in my lifetime.
OK,
so you think I was quite phlegmatic when it happened. I voted to remain, but was happy to be proven wrong. And here we are 10 years later. It's clearly been a massively damaging act of self-harm. So if I was Andy Burnham coming into number 10, I actually think, given he was against it to start with, I would say, look, I'm just going to ask the British public a simple question, right? Do you still believe in this? Or do you think it hasn't worked? It's been an act of self-harm. I'll ask the question, and if you overwhelmingly say you think it's been a bad thing, then we'll go back into the European Union. So we'll try and reform them from within.
What you're saying
the problem is this is fantasy land. This is not happening. But I mean, it's true that we've been fucked. If we went back to the EU, we'd probably be like this, the meme of the Simpsons, Homer going through the supplicant door. We'd be, oh, look who's come crawling back. So I just don't think it's feasible. I don't think it's going to happen. It's just kind of like a nonsense. But anyway. It is true that Brexit fucked us over, but I don't know. If
it is. You're not going to make a prediction.
No, I'm saying that government policy can often determine a country's economic fortunes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing I'm saying.
And so I think we have been...
OK, let me ask you a question.
We've endured a lot of very mediocre
Let's consider the US...
Well, the reality is, as the OBR has said this morning, I'm going to go off what they're saying about this, but we're in a state where we're spending too much money. Tax revenues are not going to cover the increasing costs of some of these policies. So we need to simultaneously reduce spending and increase tax receipts. How do we do that? That's the problem, isn't it?
A long time.
The US and Europe, which don't have the situations of Brexit, do you think living standards will improve in those countries?
They might, depending on the leaders and their policies.
What do you think are the important policies?
I think the important policies, I mean, I take a different view to you, where I've not...
Every economist predicted at best economic stagnation after Brexit for the next decade, or at worst, a recession. Every economist predicted. Gary, a few years later, looks at that consensus prediction, says, yep, I agree, and says, I was the only one.
Seen much evidence around the world where if all you do... I'll give an example. I call it the politics of envy. The VAT on private schools, when that first came out, I said, well, you know what happened in Greece? And of course, none of them knew what I was talking about. I was on Question Time. And I said, well, in Greece, they brought in VAT on private schools. And two things happened. One, a lot of the schools shut down because it was a step too far for them on their financial models. And secondly, all the kids at these schools then got flooded into the state system and overwhelmed it. So it failed on every single level.
I don't know if that's happened or not, but I just... Why is VAT void? Why shouldn't they pay VAT, bro? I don't understand that. I don't get that argument. I mean, you know, that comes across like the triple lock thing, where it's just a policy that exists, which is a product of some previous decision making that isn't necessarily coherent. I mean, why should it be that it's VAT free?
And it raised fuck all money. So my point being, that's what I call the politics of...
But to be fair, I don't know the ins and outs of the economics of that. So if I looked into it, maybe my mind might be changed. Maybe the VAT thing was a good idea. I don't fucking know enough about it.
I'm not saying that if you ask the British public, I think there's a poll. You said there was a poll, 4,142 British adults found that 75% of the public support a wealth tax.
Oh, dude, pensioners need an EBT-style card. Oh, yes, please. Don't mind if I do. That sounds good. Great policy.
I'm sure we do. If you've got no money, the first thought you might have is an envious one of people with lots of money and take some of that and redistribute it. I would say, for example,
don't worry, we're going to give you 50 quid a month for your bingo. And you're lucky to have that. So stop fucking moaning and get back into the fucking thing.
Example, let's look at Elon Musk.
Oh, no more cruises.
For good?
You got to save up for your cruises now, Deirdre. Okay? You get £25 a week. You can put that towards a cruise budget, and then maybe if you live long enough, you might be lucky enough to use it. You stupid old bitch.
Or Bab, put aside his comments on X and the political stuff, but in terms of the businesses he's created, the jobs he's created, the number of people who benefit from being in his orbit.
Yeah.
Would you think he's a force for... And the nature of the businesses. So let's look at Neuralink, let's look at Tesla, let's look at SpaceX. You know, in other words, do you think overwhelmingly he's a force for good or not?
So Elon Musk is a trillionaire.
So I think that broadly, I'm sure he's going to have a dumb answer to this economically. But I think Elon Musk is a great example of this because... Is it Elon Musk? People act like Elon Musk is the brains behind everything. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. He's surrounded by a lot of intelligent engineers, scientists and whatnot. They do the fucking legwork to make shit happen. So I don't know if I really buy into this idea that Elon is this, you know, advanced thinker that we should all put on a pedestal necessarily.
So if he makes 10%...
But put that to one side for a moment. Do you think he's a force for good in job creation and the kind of businesses he's created? He would say, Gary, come on, mate, what more do you want me to do? I'm bringing in green energy cars to millions and millions of people. I'm creating Neuralink so that people who are paraplegic can communicate. SpaceX is going to revolutionise...
Are you telling me Elon Musk isn't like Tony Stark? I know you're saying that, like, whatever. But that's the way that people act. In fact, I'm sure there's loads of memes of people claiming he is literally Tony Stark. But yes, I mean, obviously he's put on a pedestal. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? And I think Elon is like a good businessman. I think he's a good, efficient businessman or whatever, right? I don't think he's like an idiot like people act. But I don't think he's this advanced thinker creating all these great ideas as people make him out to be, a la Tony Stark, no.
So many things in the world. I'm using it in Ukraine so they can communicate better. I want to take us to Mars. And he said, Gary, why do you hate me? Why do you want to take all my money? Why do you want to punish my success? And I'm not sure what the answer is.
The answer is, if you have a trillionaire, these guys are going to make every year passive income something like 100 billion quid.
But why is that? Why should that be yours?
I don't want it to be mine.
Well, why shouldn't he get the due reward for what he's creating?
If you allow there to be untaxed trillionaires, then they will be buying an enormous amount of assets every year, and it will drive asset prices up, and it will squeeze out other elements of society. And what you will see is what we are seeing, which is the working class and the middle class and the government will lose their wealth. It's just simple maths. These guys...
See, I think there are horrible people.
Sorry, can I think there are horrible... Piers, come on, let me finish.
Of course,
Please, come on. Listen, you bring me out here, let me speak.
Mate,
right?
Stop playing the victim. It doesn't suit you.
Listen,
You're
I'm
a
meant to
tough
speak.
trader. Playing the victim in the old violin stuff doesn't work with me.
Listen, if you let this guy grow his wealth at that rate, at that rapid rate, in economies which are growing 1 or 2%, then purely mathematically, over the long run, over even the medium run, they will own everything. This is simply a question of, do you want the British public...
Do you own stocks?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And you invest in the stock market?
Yeah, of course I do.
So what are you doing that's any different?
I'm not a trillionaire. And I'm campaigning for wealth tax. The big difference
you're
is...
not as successful, but you are investing in companies and hoping to make a profit.
And there's nothing wrong with doing that, Piers. The difference is I want us to have a system which does not drive average people to poverty.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's how you get there.
If you do not...
Most economists I've talked to, most successful people say the best way to do that is stimulate growth.
Most rich people tell you...
Growth ultimately is the most potent trickle-down thing any society can have.
Do you think
if you have economic growth, everybody will benefit.
Piers, do you think your viewers believe that?
I think they haven't seen growth for so long, they're not quite sure what it looks like or what it
I mean, it doesn't matter what the viewers believe. It depends on what is true, right? Dude, it's appealing to this... Again, it's popular shit, isn't it? What do most people think? It's like that meme that righties didn't like, but it was true, of, you know... I'm sick of how this person's flying the plane. Who votes for me to fly the plane? And it's some random guy in the fucking economy class.
Do you think life is getting better for you, the average person in this country?
No, because I think we've had crap governments with crap economic policies. And we've been hit by other things which have made things worse.
What's your plan?
Well, no, the trickle-down thing is a foolish use of the term. But, I mean, it is true that growth benefits society, but that needs to be counterbalanced with an effective tax system to have funds to redistribute accordingly to help people that are actually in need, right? So it's about having a balance.
And how do you fix it?
Well, when I run for Prime Minister, I'll let you know my plan.
Are you going to do that?
Including my personal finances.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I sincerely hope I'm more successful than you.
Well, you probably are. We'll find out when you tell me how rich you are.
Well, I'll do that when you tell me.
Will you?
Go on.
If I tell you how rich I am, you'll tell me how rich you are. To the nearest 5.
Nearest 5.
Promise?
Oh, go on.
You will?
Go on then.
And you won't lie? You
I
promise?
won't lie. No, why would I lie?
All right, 5.
5?
Yeah.
That's not... You've got more than 5 million.
Tell me.
More than you.
Tell me. Tell
more
me.
Than you.
Tell
more
me.
Than you. You said to the nearest 5. I've got more than you.
That's not to the nearest 5.
Go on, Piers, you pussy.
It's to the nearest... It's to your nearest 5.
Piers, are you lying to your audience? You promised to tell me.
I have more than you.
To the nearest 5.
So my point to you is...
To the nearest 5,
So my point to you, Gary, is...
Why are you lying?
So
Also, I think he's lying. 5 million. Being a former city trader. All this work he's been doing over the past few years, and he's got a meager 5 million. Come off it, dude.
Lying.
You said
I said I've got more than you.
Also, he wants to claim he's the best trader City ever had. And the best he's got is a wealth of 5 million. A large portion of that is probably in his fucking property that he owns in London, no doubt.
You want to take my money.
I don't want to take your money.
And I'm perfectly entitled in that circumstance to ask you quite tough questions about why and why you think it will work, particularly when economists are on here who don't think it will work.
Okay.
So they think it sounds good.
You've promised me you'd tell me.
Yeah, I just told you, more than you.
To the nearest 5.
Let me bring in Tom.
To the nearest 5,
Let me bring in Tom.
Piers, to the nearest 5.
Let me bring it... Well,
come on.
So compared to your
Piers,
5...
that's very dishonest.
Compared to your 5, more than you. I'm not the one lecturing people about, wealth taxes.
But you lied.
Meager 5 million. Chud impoverished logic 2026. Yes, comparatively, amongst wealthy people, £5 million is not that much, especially if you've got a property in London. Because your London property is probably going to constitute 40 to 50% of that wealth in the first place, you fucking idiot.
On your own show, Piers, how do you feel about that?
I'm not lying to anyone.
Oh, comedy.
Let me ask the biz doc here. Tom, how much are you worth? Americans are normally quite proud, actually, say.
We can... Oh, boy. We can have my accountant on next time. And, Pierce, obviously you're too successful. We should take you back to BBC and make you a weekend weatherman.
Exactly.
We need to penalize you because you've been so successful. So...
That was pretty shit.
And by the way, about Elon Musk, there's a fable here. The word trillionaire is being paraded about almost as doom porn.
Yeah, I'm got my eyes on this delivery. I've got 2 deliveries. I'm going to end after this, and then, assuming deliveries come at a reasonable time, within the next hour to 2 hours, I'll come back later. Dude, I feel like I'm just not going to come back, dude. If I don't come back, I'll get my new PC stuff.
Trillionaire, he's going to make this kind of interest. He's going to be buying this up. Let's look at Elon Musk. You brought Elon Musk, not me. Let's look at him. 2002, eBay buys PayPal. And then Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn, Peter Thiel, Palantir, Elon Musk, they all go their way with a lot of capital. What does Elon Musk do? In a matter of months, in 2003, he launched Tesla. In 2010, he then floated the company, IPO in American speak. He then...
Yeah, I don't like this guy either, man. This guy's too throating of billionaires for my tastes.
What did he do? If we had said, that's it.
I hate the way that Elon gets put on a pedestal. He doesn't deserve to get put on a pedestal like this. I think there's probably some creators that actually deserve to have this level of, like, you know, praise, but I just don't think Elon counts amongst them.
Tesla, you've had too much success. Time to take it. Time to turn it down. You've gone far enough. We don't want you to get interest on that and do it. He didn't take the interest on that. You know what he did? He went out and built more companies, including SpaceX in 2019. And you know what he did with that? Was Starlink.
Elon Musk did a hostile takeover of Tesla and kicked out the founders who built the platform every car is built in. Is that true?
Starlink specifically? Starlink, guess what happened? In 2022, when Prime Minister...
Also, another problem. See, like, I am still a fucking lefty, okay? I am still a lefty because I listen to this and I think, hang on a sec, you're talking about the great man at the head of this. What about every person that contributed? What about the people that built an iPhone or fucking built a Tesla or whatever? You know, there's lots of labour that also went into the production of this. And I think that often these leaders get put on a pedestal and it does a disservice to the actual hands and minds that made it happen, made it possible, you know, made it occur. Because, yeah, even Steve Jobs who built the fucking Apple computer or whatever, right? It got to a point where he wasn't there fucking, you know, putting it all together. He was like a fucking talking head. It was other people that he'd taken on. They were the brains behind things like the iPhone, the iPod or whatever, you know? It's just very frustrating when it's all focused on one person and it just really does away with all of the people that contributed to that happening.
Fedorov made an urgent call from the Ukraine and said... Communications have been knocked out by the Russians in the early days of the war.
Wasn't he that built the original computers? Or did he? Bro, dude, I just assumed fucking Steve Jobs was the guy. Really? Is that true? Dude, no, bro. So even he doesn't fucking count.
You give us Starlink, exactly. And I'm emphasizing the point.
Yeah.
If I stop Elon
See,
Musk...
that's what I'm talking about, bro. All the focus gets put on the fucking great men of history. And then the actual people that built it just get fucking forgotten.
Because I said he had too much. We never get Starlink.
Yeah.
And to say he's just got $1 trillion, he's going to sit on it like a mountain of money, he's going to move interest and look around and say, what can he buy? That is a farcical argument. Gary, come down to Fort Lauderdale. Sit with Pat and I. Let's talk about solutions. We're trying to put solutions. We run a consulting company.
They have a very nice setup
Excuse
down
me?
there. I went down there a few months ago. It was great. They took very good care of me and you'll have a good time. But it'll be an interesting debate. Christian, Polymarket says the next UK Chancellor of the Exchequer is likely to be Ed Miliband. He's just under 40% of the money that's going in on that in the prediction markets. Many see him as the ultimate green socialist, a guy that is a sort of net zero zealot and would be a bit disastrous for us. What's your view of people like Ed Miliband?
Well, I'm not going to comment on individual politicians. It is, of course, possible that the next government, whatever the exact complexion of it is going to be, it is possible that they will be sympathetic to the idea of a wealth tax, partly because it polls very well, it does very well on YouGov and other polling companies, and because they are in a difficult fiscal situation. So we still have a massive budget deficit. They don't really want to raise taxes that most people can see. So it could well be that as a populist gimmick, a government will say, yes, we will introduce a wealth tax because most people think, oh, that's got nothing to do with me, I'll never pay it. It's just that what's then going to happen is, well, it could be the same thing as in the 1970s. Labour government in the 70s also wanted to introduce a wealth tax. And then once they started to look at the practicalities, once they had their civil servants trying to draw up a plan, they realized this isn't worth it. This is more trouble than it's worth. We are going to need such a massive bureaucracy to do the valuation. And that takes us back to, you know, I'm not interested in how wealthy either of you two are, but I believe both of you when you say that you can't tell the exact figure that you wouldn't know. It's just that that is true of most asset owners. They don't know the exact figure.
Yeah.
And that all of that wealth has to be valued. That is the big difference between asset taxation and taxes on income or consumption. If I sell something to you for, say, £100, of course, the taxman can say, right, I want 20% of that. But if you own an asset and it's never been sold or it hasn't been sold for 10 years or 20 years, whatever, how are you going to value it? You are going to need an army of bureaucrats running around the country trying to value everything. So how much is this building in which we're filming this? How much is this worth? I guess nobody knows. I'm sure you can find an estate agent who is going to value it for a lot of money, but that is the problem with wealth taxes. You need a
not fucking grinding, you idiot. I've said repeatedly I'm waiting for delivery. Fuck off,
Question, Gary,
dude.
finally for you. So you said you're worth about 5 million, and your argument is the wealthy people in the world should pay, the interest they make on that money just comes in. So how much do you make a year from that?
Well, again, it's a question for my accountant, isn't it?
Do you know roughly? I mean,
well, I'll probably make about 5% on it, won't I?
5%. And do you give that away? Do you redistribute it, or what do you do?
No, I use it for me, so I can have a family, so I can have kids one day. Yeah, of course.
So
As do you, no?
So your lecture is to the wealthy, you should give away your interest you make. But when it comes to you, Gary Stevenson, no. Because you've got your family to take care of. I mean, do you understand people that watch that and go, well, you're just a hypocrite?
Piers, I'm not here to talk to the wealthy. I'm here to talk to your viewers. I'm here to talk to your viewers.
I get it. I think my viewers will be thinking, well, hang on, you want other wealthy people to give their interest away, but you want to keep all yours because you've got a family to feed.
Piers, I'm here to talk to your viewers whose kids will live in poverty. I'm here to tell them the quite simple economic
fact. They quite
fact.
like some of the interests that you want to take away from other wealthy people.
I'm here to tell them.
Some of yours.
I'm here to tell them the quite simple economic fact, which is if we do not do anything about top-end taxation,
that's about 250 grand a year, isn't it?
In poverty.
Just doing the maths on, mate.
Listen, I'll pay my tax and I will pay my tax. And if there's a wealth tax that affects me, I will pay it.
I don't mean that. I mean the interest that you talk about that wealthy people should. Listen, you mentioned with Elon Musk, he makes all this interest. He should just give it away, but you don't.
I'm not telling anybody to give anything away. I'm telling the poor, if you do not stand up for a fairer tax system, your kids will be poor. You need to fix the
Here's
tax
where
system.
I'll agree with you.
Simple as that.
Here's where I'll agree with you. I agree with you that there is a big poverty issue. I do agree there is a massive wealth equality issue. The bit that I'm not so convinced about is your solution, and that's why it's an interesting debate. I like the fact you do what you do. I don't think you should give up. I think you should carry on doing
They can't
what you
turn
do.
the bloody
I think
lights
you should
on.
be a bit less defensive about it. You should be a bit more open and just say, look, this is the deal with
I think you should as well. You've promised to tell
But
us
I'm
how
not the one
wealthy,
doing
how
all the
wealthy you
books,
are, to the nearest
documentaries, and
five.
Oh, dude, he's one there. He's one there going back to that.
You promised today to your viewers.
I said I've got more than you.
To the nearest five.
Yeah.
That's not a number, Piers. That's not a number, Piers.
I just don't want to make you feel bad, mate. All that hard work you put in.
Is it really big? How big is it?
I just, you know, size isn't everything, Gary.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there. I said absolutely no one ever. Lovely to see you all. Interesting. Debate. Don't give up, Gary. You should be stimulating this debate. I think it's interesting, but don't be quite so defensive. You don't need to be. Just put it out there what you want to do. Let the economists pick it up, and let's hopefully get a prime minister of this country in particular who can have some bloody decent economic policies which stimulate growth and help everybody. That would be great. On that positive note, I will end this debate. Thank you all very much.
Right, guys. Unfortunately, I've got to go. Normally, I'd be starting my normal segments here, but unfortunately, I've got to go and do this delivery. So, I might be back later, but also, depends on how late my other delivery comes, I might just build my new setup. I'll see how it goes. If it's like in the next hour, I'll go live again. If not, I'll be back tomorrow. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Much appreciated. I've got to go right now. Be good. Catch you later. Bye.